Chapter 400. Su Zhenrong threw a bunch of inexplicable words and left. He walked a short distance and came to a corner. Standing under the streetlight, he took out his phone and made a call. He hasn't agreed yet, but he will agree sooner or later. Su Zhenrong didn't know who he was talking to. Just as he was about to say something, he suddenly frowned. He stretched out his left hand and caught a small knife with a red tassel in front of his eye. Dang! He only caught one knife. The other knife hit his phone and nailed it to the wall beside him. The phone emitted some sparks and then completely broke. Su Zhenrong was a little surprised. Firstly, this unique knife-throwing technique could effectively attack him. It was definitely not a good person. Secondly, this person could actually follow behind him silently. He must be an expert. Who is it? Su Zhenrong kicked his violin case and popped out two short knives, which he held in his hands. His face was completely cold, which was the complete opposite of his previous smiling state. Cold face golden blade. You've finally shown your true colors. An emotionless voice appeared. At the same time, a black shadow stood in the darkness. The streetlight couldn't illuminate his figure, and only his feet could be seen, riding a horse in the west wind. You are all hypocrites. The other party mocked mercilessly. You hate us so much. Could it be that you are from the leaning sword laughing breeze? Su Zhenrong spun the two knives and sized up the person in the black shadow. This person was very mysterious. Hiding in the shadows, he gave off an even more threatening feeling. The four major alliances are all dogs. That person scolded. It seems that you are from the Morong Villa. Su Zhenrong laughed again. If it wasn't for his iceberg-like face, it was hard to imagine why this person was called Cold Golden Knife. This was because only when he was facing an enemy would he become as cold as ice, like the cold steel of an iceberg. Even if I don't like that person, he still belongs to the Morong Villa. The black shadow reminded Su Zhenrong, next time you dare to approach my Morong Villa, this knife will pierce your throat. Since you are here, why not have a fight first? Su Zhenrong suddenly held two golden sabers and dashed into the shadows. However, the black shadow from before seemed to have vanished into thin air without a trace. He runs really fast. Su Zhenrong put away the golden knife and played with the red-tasseled flying knife. The flying knife had the word Morong printed on it. Obviously, it was also the work of Morong Villa. Clairvoyant enchanting. Su Zhenrong sneered. Morong actually sent her to keep an eye on Li Fan. Interesting. However, it's hard to say how long Morong can be the leader of the Wulin Alliance. As he spoke, he swung the red-tasseled flying knife, and this flying knife stared at another flying knife. Li Fan did not notice that someone was following him. When he returned to his residence, the house was almost tidied up. All the furniture was covered with a white dust-proof cloth. It was obvious that this was done by Taizhu. A black Bentley was parked outside. It was Morong Ying's car. Son-in-law, please get in the car. Taizhu opened the car door. The car was still emitting heat. Obviously, they had been waiting for a long time. When Li Fan got in the car, Morong Ai and Morong Ying were already sitting opposite. The two beautiful girls were very eye-catching. It was a dream of many people to be able to sit in the same car with these two beautiful girls. However, this kind of thing was happening in front of him. It was indeed a bit like a dream. In particular, these two girls basically belonged to him. If these two sisters could serve him together. When Li Fan thought of this, he felt that his heartbeat was a little faster. He hurriedly adjusted his state of mind and calmed his emotions. What? Don't you have anything to say to me? Morong Ying's left leg pressed on her right leg. The scenery under the Cheongsam was very attractive. What do you want to say? Li Fan was stunned for a moment. He did not know what Morong Ying wanted. Do you feel that there is too little communication between us as husband and wife? Li Fan asked with a smile. That's not what I'm asking. Morong Ying seemed to be somewhat unhappy. It was as if Li Fan had done something bad and hid it from her. Li Fan was somewhat apprehensive. Could it be that she found out about the matter between him and Morong Ai? Morong Ai was leaning on the armrest and sleeping. She was unable to respond to Li Fan's gaze. Fuck, this situation doesn't seem too good. You know about it? What do you think? Morong Ying let out a sneer. Shouldn't I know? It's not what I want. That temptation is very big. Of course it's big. It's big enough to make you tempted, right? I know I shouldn't be tempted, but as a man, I might make this kind of mistake. Stupid man. Murong-ing ridiculed. For a little so-called ideal, you can be tempted. Ah, ideal? Yes, it's ideal. Murong-ing resolutely and decisively said. What a good man's ambition is everywhere. Straight man cancer. Li Fan was a bit confused. It seemed that the two of them were not talking about the same thing. In the past, Long Fangyu also used this trick to recruit me and was driven out by me. Murong-ing reminded Li Fan, don't get close to anyone from the Four Alliances. They are a bunch of psychopaths. Fighting for power and position, they have forgotten the original intention of a martial artist. Ah, I will definitely not be too close to them. You can rest assured. Li Fan relaxed and laughed. I still have my own force to develop. How can I have time to get involved in their mess? Wait a minute. Li Fan suddenly thought of something. He squinted his eyes and stared at Murong-ing in front of him. You sent someone to follow me? You should learn a lesson. Murong-ing said, he knows how to differentiate between stalking and protecting. I don't want your deformed protection. Li Fan was a bit unhappy. Murong-ing, you can't make me follow you all the time, right? I am not a child. Do I need you to send someone to protect me? Li Fan, have you ever thought about what kind of position you are in right now? Murong-ing reminded Li Fan, you provoke the Imperial Secret Service and the Golden Eagle Castle. If not for the Murong Villa supporting you, do you think you can still live until now? I have never attached myself to the Murong Villa. This is only your opinion. Outsiders will not think so. Murong-ing said, the four major alliances in the Jianghu are all ambitious. An expert like you, who has no organization, is the biggest attraction to them. You are a warrior, a weapon, and a bargaining chip. I, Li Fan, will not become anyone's weapon. Li Fan said in a deep voice, I will become the world's #1 martial artist. Excessive confidence is narcissism. Murong-ing reminded Li Fan, I don't want you to become that kind of person. Chapter 401. No matter what you expect of me, I am me. Li Fan stubbornly says, sooner or later, I will defeat you as well, wife. Good. I look forward to that day. Murong-ing says, I hope it won't be too long because you are still far from it. I will catch up soon. You also have to work hard. Li Fan can now operate 2 forms at the same time, which greatly increases his fighting strength. Therefore, Li Fan's confidence is quite high. The only thing that makes him uncomfortable is that he is still stuck at the bottleneck. If he does not break through this bottleneck, his internal force will not be able to advance. Your current strength is the strength of 5 dragons. Murong-ing crosses her hands and proudly smiles. I now have the strength of 9 dragons and 4 tigers. A generation's master is only a step away from me. What the? Li Fan is so angry that he wants to curse. Where did this monster Murong-ing come from? Her training ability is too strong. She is only 20 years old, and she is about to break through to Generations Master? If Murong-ing knows Li Fan's thoughts, she would probably be depressed. After all, Murong-ing has been practicing martial arts since she was 3 years old. All the way until today, she has trained for 17 years to reach today's achievement. But how long has Li Fan been practicing martial arts? 1 year. At the very most, it is only a year's time. In this 1 year's time, he actually changed from a high school student who does not know any fist techniques to a peak martial arts master. Who can do this? Even the genius of the Heaven Alliance, Lu Jinchan, does not have such a powerful talent. Something is wrong. Murong-ing suddenly remembers that Lu Jinchan is also a pure young body expert. Moreover, he seems to have a few supreme beauties by his side who have high martial arts skills. Damn it. If I also have a pure young body, how good would that be? God is really unfair. Why did he give a pure young body to a man? I'm looking forward to when you'll let me fight with my full strength. Murong-ing took the initiative to provoke Li Fan. After all, she was somewhat unconvinced in her heart. I won't keep you waiting for too long. Also, there's something I need to clarify. Li Fan decided to make some things clear first. Oh? Tell me about it. Murong-ing switched her legs, which made Li Fan lower his eyes. If you keep looking, I'll dig out your eyeballs. The scenery is good. Why can't I watch it? You're courting death. Then kill me. When Li Fan acted like a rascal, Murong really loved and hated him at the same time. Let's talk about you first. Forget it if you don't want to say it. All right. I was so busy looking at the scenery that I almost forgot to get down to business. You're still talking nonsense. Look at you. We're talking about serious matters. Why are you getting off topic again? You. Murong crushed the door next to her. Next time, you should drive a tank. Li Fan was speechless. This woman always liked to vent her anger on good things. Hurry up. Otherwise, you won't have a chance. Okay, then I'll say it. Li Fan said, it's still our agreement. Just like what Taiju said, when we reach Murong's house, I'll give you face. But, if your old man provokes me too much, I might not be able to endure it. You'd better endure it. Murong reminded. He's a true grandmaster of his generation. His power is not something you can imagine. How strong is a grandmaster of his generation? You can't imagine it until you reach this level. When Murong said it, there was a reverent tone. To be able to make this proud and arrogant Wulin Alliance leader revere, it must be that kind of power at the peak. In Jianghu, a grandmaster of his generation is very rare. Every grandmaster of his generation can be said to be a national treasure. Didn't the previous commander of the Brocade Guard use evil attack to break through the last restriction and become a grandmaster of his generation? Didn't you see his power? I saw it. It's quite strong. Heh, that's because he just became a grandmaster of his generation. He hasn't understood it yet. Murong Ying's words shocked Li Fan. What he showed was only 1/10 of his power. Is a grandmaster really that strong? Did I lie? Murong rolled her eyes at Li Fan. In Jianghu, there are a few grandmasters of their generation. Each of them is a national treasure. Jianghu has rules. They won't easily make a move. Because once they make a move, the rules of Jianghu will be changed. What about the leaders of the four alliances? How strong are they? They're far from it. Murong smiled disdainfully. A few little kids who have reached the peak also dare to call themselves leaders. Murong was the leader of Wulin Alliance, while they were the leaders of their own alliances. Although the weight was different, Murong Ying's heart would still be somewhat unhappy. Their ambition far exceeds their strength. Murong Ying only left such a comment. In short, you have to be careful of them. Don't worry. Basically, we won't have any chance to meet. Are you sure? Murong Ying smiled sweetly. Every year during Chinese New Year, these four so-called leaders will come over to pay their respects. Damn, is there a need for your family to be so lively? The degree of bustle is beyond your imagination. Murong first gave a warning to Li Fan. Murong's family is really big. Don't be too surprised when the time comes. The last time I went there weren't many. Not all of them live in Murong's house, but during Chinese New Year, they all have to come back. Murong introduced, my father has 3 brothers. Each brother has many children, plus my father's cousins, and so on. All kinds of branches. To be honest, even until now, even I don't remember how many sisters I have with the same or different surnames. Damn, there are too many people. Li Fan felt a headache. He hated dealing with this kind of situation the most. In the past, when his parents asked him to greet relatives he didn't know, Li Fan felt very annoyed. What the hell? He didn't know those people. How could he greet them intimately? Do I need to greet them intimately? That's not necessary. Just be polite. What if you can't be polite? Don't go too far. I have to be polite. Murong glared fiercely at Li Fan. Anyway, I will try my best to avoid unnecessary social interactions. Murong said this. She was very tolerant of Li Fan. Li Fan was embarrassed to ask for too much. Since his fiancée gave in, he had to show the bearing that a man should have. That's good. Then I will also try my best to be polite. Not knowing why, Li Fan already started to have a headache. Chapter 402. Returning to Murong Villa again, Li Fan found that it had indeed become lively. The parking lot of the huge Murong Villa was usually empty, with only a few cars parked there. But now, the parking lot was almost full. When Morong Ying and Li Fan returned, Morong Bo was not even willing to see Li Fan and sent him to live in a wing room. But seeing this wing room, Morong Ying didn't say anything. Morong Ai was the first to protest. Why is brother-in-law given such a place? Morong Ai looked at the housekeeper in front of her and asked with a frown, "This is a place for servants to live." Morong Ai was very angry. "I'm sorry, Second Mississippi. Now the rooms in Morong Villa are all full, and there's only one room." The housekeeper replied calmly, "Master ordered that son-in-law should stay here." "This is too much," Morong Ai said angrily. "Let brother-in-law sleep in my room." Morong Ying and the housekeeper were shocked. Morong Ai quickly added, "I'll sleep in the same room with my sister." Xiao Ai is becoming more and more sensible. Morong Ying couldn't help but touch her sister's head. "Let your brother-in-law sleep with me." Morong Ai seemed slightly surprised, and there seemed to be a flash of jealousy in her eyes. But she hid it very well, and it was just a flash. "Mrs. Master said that there are many people coming back this time. Son-in-law hasn't officially married eldest Miss yet, so he can't live with eldest Mississippi. He will be criticized." "Then let's do as I say." Morong Ai immediately said, "If I live with my sister, I won't be criticized, right?" "That's not appropriate, Second Mississippi. What's wrong with it? I think you're deliberately making things difficult. We're all family. Why do you have to make things like this?" Morong's protectiveness towards Li Fan seemed to have surpassed that of a sister-in-law towards her brother-in-law. Li Fan was afraid of exposing himself, so he hurriedly stopped him. "Forget it. I came back to celebrate the new year. I don't care where I live." Li Fan smiled. "Maybe you don't believe me, but the house I used to live in had leaks on all sides. I've wronged you." Morong Ying said to Li Fan, "You stay here for a while. I'll go talk to my father." "There's really no need. You guys go back to your work." In fact, Li Fan was a little glad that the house was arranged as remote as possible. It would be best if they didn't look for him for meals. It was really troublesome to meet with such a big family. "Let's stay here for now." Morong Ying didn't say much. She just took her sister's hand and said, "Xiao Ai, come with me to see father." "Okay." Originally, Morong wanted to fight for it, but when she saw Li Fan's stopping look, she had to stop. "You guys have fun. I'm going to rest for a while." Li Fan said goodbye to Morong and her sister and hid in this wing room to relax. Even if it was just a wing room for servants, it was still a very good small Western-style building. Li Fan went directly to the second floor and lay on the soft bed to relax. People were all happy and reunited during the new year. In the end, he was all alone. It was indeed a bit pitiful. However, he had already chosen to take this step, so he had to go all the way. Li Fan crossed his legs, crossed his arms, and began to enter a state of meditation. A person who practiced martial arts often had to empty himself and maintain meditation. Li Fan mobilized the true qi in his body and once again attacked the seventh acupoint. However, the seventh acupoint was like a strong city. No matter how Li Fan attacked, he couldn't break through it. Li Fan really wanted to curse, but at this time, a voice appeared in his ear. "You need a little help." The voice of the heart demon. "Shut up. I don't need anyone's help." "I'm not anyone. I'm you." The voice sounded again. "You only need your own help." "I've already tried my best." "Not enough." The voice of the heart demon roared. "Just a little. You just need to accept me. The seventh acupoint is not a problem. I don't need radical methods." Li Fan said calmly, "Practicing martial arts is like rowing a boat against the current. It has to be done step by step. The faster you swim, the more dangerous it is. You. Take a look for yourself." An illusion suddenly appeared in front of Li Fan. He stepped on Morong Bo's corpse, standing high on a mountain of corpses. The corpses below were all familiar faces: Morong Bo of Morong Villa, the commander-in-chief of the genie guards, in short, all kinds of enemies. As long as you listen to your own heart, these people, they are not your opponent at all. What's a grandmaster? You can be stronger. You can step on everyone under your feet. Shut up. Li Fan was a little annoyed by his words. He quickly adjusted his mentality. If he was annoyed, he would fulfill the heart demon's wish. Li Fan tried his best to calm himself down. He began to enter the ape-faced Buddha's posture. The Dharma was boundless. Entering this posture, the power of the heart demon would be greatly weakened. No, you shouldn't reject yourself. The heart demon seemed to roar. Think about the treatment you received. You were treated like a dog by Morongbo. Do you know? I will naturally fight for my position. Li Fan said loudly, don't talk nonsense with me. Get out of my head. The ape-faced Buddha state had been fully activated. Li Fan felt a lot better. His ears could finally be at peace. Li Fan would not be defeated by his heart demon. He swore he would not be defeated. The true qi in his body continued to slowly circulate, and he continued to try, attacking Li Fan's 7th acupuncture point again and again. Although he did not know when it would work, Li Fan still tried. Even if it was like drilling wood to make a fire, he would definitely succeed in the end. Didn't the ancients say that as long as the effort was deep enough, an iron rod could be ground into an embroidery needle? On the other side, the Murong sisters had already entered the hall. Morongbo was sitting on a wooden armchair. Although he was over 50 years old, there was not a single strand of silver in his hair. He was still full of heroic spirit. My two babies, you are finally back. Morongbo was wild with joy. You made father think bad. Come, let father hug you. Moronging simply pulled out her long sword, and Morongbo also took 2 steps back. My daughter has grown up. I can't stay here anymore. Morongbo even wiped away his tears. There are many people outside who want to see you. When Moronging arrived, there were many people sitting in the reception hall outside. It is always like this at this time of the year, you know? Morongbo waved his hand. Wait until the end of the year. When your uncles come back, that is the real annoying moment. So, is this the reason why my husband slept in the servants' room? Chapter 403. Xiaoying, what's with your tone? How dare you talk to your father like this? Morongbo said bitterly, I'm a man, but I have to be a father and a mother, bringing up the 2 of you. It's not easy for me. Now that you've grown up, you're questioning your father like this because of an outsider. Father's heart hurts. Father, how can you say that? Morong AI also began to argue. Brother-in-law is a family with us. He came all the way here, but you let him sleep in a servant's room. Not to mention that brother-in-law can bear it. Even a strong-willed person like sister can't bear it. Xiao AI, why are you speaking for that outsider after living outside for a period of time? Morongbo's eyes turned red again. I'm a man, but I have to be a father and a mother, bringing up the 2 of you. Are you sister-in-law Xianglin? Moronging couldn't help but roll her eyes. Li Fan is my husband. What you're doing is simply driving me away. How can that be? Father misses you so much. How can I drive you away? Morongbo hurriedly said. Xiaoying, you have to be considerate. There are many people in the family, but there are few rooms. Besides, so what if it's a servant's room? Isn't it 100 times better than the place that kid used to live? Don't forget, if it weren't for Morong's family, he would still be living in a broken house with cracks on all sides. It's because you're always like this. Moronging suddenly felt very tired and couldn't help but sigh. Forget it. I'm tired. I'm going to rest. Good night, father. Moronging said and turned to leave. Morongbo couldn't stop her no matter how hard she tried. Then I'm leaving too. Good night, father. Morong AI also ran away with her sister. Morongbo tried to stop her several times, but neither of her 2 daughters stayed. What nonsense. These 2 children have grown up. Morongbo was a little depressed, and Jiang Feng had been standing at the side. When he heard Morongbo get angry, he went forward and cupped his hands. Master, don't be angry. The guest will come to greet you soon. Originally, Morong was going to bring her 2 daughters to meet the guests together. Hearing Jiang Feng's words, her expression relaxed a little. All right, I almost forgot about business. Let the guests in. Yes, master. The housekeeper stood there, nodded at once, and went to open the door. According to previous years, there should have been a group of guests fighting to be the first to enter, but this year seemed a little different. There were only a few guests outside, and they seemed to be in low spirits. As for the large group of people who were supposed to rush in to pay their New Year greetings, they were nowhere to be found. Where are they? Morongbo wrinkled his brows. Even the representatives of the 4 major alliances had disappeared. These people had been eagerly seeking him out in the past, wanting to rope him in. Even if they couldn't rope him in, they had to get close to him and win his support. But this year, not a single one of them appeared. Manor Master Morong, I'm really sorry. Everyone thought that you went to bed early again this year. A sect leader of a small sect in the pugilistic world cupped his hands and explained, so everyone went to pay a visit to young Hero Li. Morongbo almost vomited blood. This group of damn bastards. Li Fan was definitely his nemesis. Since that's the case, I also have to pay my respects to my future son-in-law, Morongbo said, and directly left the hall without caring about the few guests who were waiting for him. And at this moment, Li Fan was being harassed to the point of no return. Originally, the side room should be a place where no one would disturb his cultivation. Unexpectedly, not long after he settled here, a group of uninvited guests came. A group of people who claimed to be the representatives of the 4 major alliances did not let him rest. They surrounded him and chattered, shouting that they wanted to make friends with Li Fan and become sworn brothers. There was even someone who wanted his sister to be his concubine. Sitting among these people, Li Fan felt like he was sitting in a cage surrounded by a group of ducks, causing him to be annoyed. Friends, I'm really sorry. I'm used to being alone and don't want to join any alliance. Li Fan's words were very weak and did not have any effect. These people shouted even more happily. Everyone, do you not understand what I'm saying? Li Fan was very annoyed. He felt that these people seemed to be against him. Brotherly, you're still young. A person riding whistling west wind laughed and patted Li Fan's shoulder. With your skills, if you join the alliance, you will definitely become our alliance leader's right-hand man. These few times, he often mentioned you, saying that he always wanted to meet young Hero. I'm only a high school student. Everyone thinks too highly of me. Li Fan immediately declined. What I want to do the most right now is to study hard. I really don't have such thoughts about joining the alliance. The Jianghu is big, like a whirlpool. An armored man from the White Tiger Hall said, even if you don't want to join, you will be involved in this flood sooner or later. So, making a choice early is better than being forced to make a choice. Friend, your words are very interesting. Li Fan could not help but laugh. Although I haven't practiced martial arts for a long time, no one has ever dared to force me to make a decision. Young Hero Li has guts and schemes. It has been widely spread in the Jianghu. The representative riding whistling west wind said with a smile, as if he was not angry at Li Fan's words, young and frivolous. When I was young Hero Li's age, I was also high-spirited. Until I saw how big the Jianghu is. Why are you guys going to give me a lesson? Li Fan smiled. Don't you think I'm like my teacher? I think the weather tonight is good, and the moon is just right. Why don't you draw a line and let's have a spar? Maybe that will make my mood better. It's almost the new year. It's not our style to fight. The representative riding whistling west wind said with a smile, although young Hero Li's martial arts are high, you don't know much about the rules of the Jianghu? Rules of the Jianghu? Young Hero Li, I'm sorry. According to the rules of the Jianghu, it's not suitable to fight at the end of the year. Li Fan was speechless. There were too many messy rules in the Jianghu. Fighting at the end of the year will bring murderous intent. Even martial artists hope to have a peaceful new year. A familiar voice appeared in Li Fan's ears. Then, the figure that Li Fan hated the most came over. It's very lively here, my son-in-law. Morong stood there with his hands behind his back. For some reason, the wind and snow seemed to stop when it came to his side. The true qi in Morong's body was already strong to such an extent. Even the weather couldn't get close to him. Li Fan just quietly looked at Morong. How strong was a grandmaster? Chapter 404. At that moment, Li Fan even had the urge to fight with this person, but it was only for a moment. Li Fan still held back. Martial fighters are a group of people who follow the rules. Since they said that there would be no martial arts at the end of the year, then they should really not fight. Furthermore, his strength was still too lacking. If he rashly fought with Morong, he would be crippled and it would not be beneficial to him. He would conserve his energy and wait for the day he entered the Grandmaster level to compete with him. Grandmaster level, he would reach it sooner or later. Greetings, father-in-law. Although he was not happy in his heart, he had promised Morong Ing that he still had to put up a good front. Li Fan cupped his hands at Morong. Morong smiled. My future son-in-law, you are really promising? Morong looked around. The people from the 4 major alliances could not help but avoid his gaze. Look, there are so many people here. They can't wait to come and pay their respects to you. Father-in-law is overpraising me. Li Fan used the humble words that he could think of and cupped his hands. Everything is because of father-in-law's glory. Not bad. It's good that you know. Morong very honestly accepted Li Fan's words. Everything that you have today is indeed because of our Morong family. Without Morong family, there would be no you today. Yes, father-in-law is right. Li Fan endured it. He did not want to have this kind of dispute with Morong. As long as he endured for a few days, he would not have to see this old idiot Morong when he returned home. Since father-in-law is here, son-in-law should also leave. Everyone, please. As Li Fan spoke, he directly turned around and went up to the 2nd floor, leaving the guests downstairs. This year, Morong Villa is not receiving guests. Go back. Morong was also a little angry. He waved his sleeves. Don't wait for me to personally send the guests off. After that, Morong Bo also turned around and left. The people from the sects and the 4 alliances looked at each other. Since Morong had asked them to leave, they couldn't be thick-skinned and stay. However, they got a piece of information from this. Morong Bo and her son-in-law, Li Fan, didn't seem to have a good relationship. This matter seemed to be good news. The others also left one after another, but there was one person who stayed behind. He stood downstairs, cupped his hands and said loudly, Young Hero Li, I am Chen Junhua's senior brother. My junior martial brother often talks about you, saying that he hopes that if you are free, you can come to Mount Hua to exchange swordsmanship. Tell him I'll go when I'm free. Li Fan's voice could also be heard. That's good. Young Hero Li, farewell. Just as he was about to leave, he suddenly thought of something and stopped. By the way, there's something I need to tell young Hero Li. That Mount Hua sect disciple suddenly said, although it's almost the end of the year, the Jianghu isn't peaceful. Just a few days ago, the Golden Eagle Castle was sneak attacked. What? Can you make it clear? Li Fan's figure flashed, and he lightly landed on the ground floor from upstairs without making a sound. This elegant Qinggong made the Mount Hua sect disciple somewhat envious. They practiced on the mountain all year round and thought that their Qinggong was outstanding. But when they saw Li Fan's footsteps, they knew that he was looking at the sky from the bottom of a well. The people from the Devil Sect, they sneak attacked the Golden Eagle Castle and caused great damage to the Golden Eagle Castle. The people from the Devil Sect? Li Fan was still not clear about the matter of the Devil Sect. The full name of the Devil Sect is the Sect of the Invincible and Invincible. The Mount Hua sect disciple said, everyone calls them the Devil Sect. I don't know why this group of people sneak attacked the Golden Eagle Castle overnight, plotted against Yin Wuchao, and turned the Golden Eagle Castle upside down. They are looking for something? Yes, I don't know what they are looking for, but it seems like they didn't find it. The Mount Hua sect disciple was also guessing. His voice was filled with doubt. I don't know what these people from the Devil Sect are looking for. But, young Hero Li, you have to be more careful. Why? The 4 major alliances want to rope you in. The Devil Sect naturally also wants to. And if they can't rope you in, the Devil Sect is very likely to destroy you. I understand. Thank you for your reminder. Li Fan bowed to him. That's all I have to say. Young Hero Li, I wish you good luck. With that, the Mount Hua sect disciple finally left Li Fan's room. This time, Li Fan was indeed the only one here, and it was finally completely quiet. Those fellows have finally left. But what are those people from the Devil Sect actually looking for? He pondered for a moment, then took out a piece of parchment from his bosom. On it was a cultivation diagram. It was the diagram that Li Fan got from the Golden Eagle Castle. Could it be that they are looking for this? Li Fan took out both pieces of parchment, spread them on the table, and looked at them with the help of the light. The kung fu of these two diagrams all had to be performed in the opposite direction. Was the devil sect looking for this thing? But could this kind of kung fu really be practiced? Suddenly, Li Fan had a bold idea. The more Li Fan practiced his God-connecting meridian, the more magical it was. In the past few days, Li Fan also noticed that the God-connecting meridian actually contained the 7 meridians and 8 meridians of the human body. Previously, Li Fan temporarily stored the power of one dragon that he absorbed from Wang San in the God-connecting meridian, but now, he suddenly had a very bold idea. Li Fan held his breath, calmed his mind, and let his soul enter a state of emptiness. Li Fan alternated his hands and made a strange gesture. Then, his meridian seemed to switch from the power of 5 dragons, which had reached the peak, to the power of 1 dragon, which had just reached the next level. It was like the switch of the 2 postures, and the posture of the 7 heroes' force was taken into the God-connecting meridian. In this state of the power of 1 dragon, Li Fan's true chi took the simplest route, without any internal force. It was like a piece of unpolished jade, waiting for Li Fan to develop, and Li Fan compared one of the drawings and studied it. He followed the pattern on the drawing, sat cross-legged on the bed, and began to practice the pattern on the first one. Li Fan began to let the true chi go in the opposite direction. After just 1 round, Li Fan spat out a mouthful of blood. However, because Li Fan did not practice other kung fu, his injury was not serious, and he did not immediately go crazy. Li Fan tried his best to empty his mind, followed the method on the pattern, and continued to practice. Every time the true chi went 1 round, it would be extremely painful. However, Li Fan was stubborn. He did not believe that this kind of kung fu could not be practiced. At most, he would destroy the kung fu in the God-connecting meridian, and he would still be a good man. Li Fan made up his mind. No matter how painful it was, he would try to practice the kung fu. After the true chi ran for 49 rounds, Li Fan suddenly spat out a large mouthful of blood, and his vision began to darken. Chapter 405. Li Fan's eyes turned black and his ears rang with a buzzing sound, as if someone was constantly ringing a bell in his ears. 7 by 7 for 49 rounds. This true chi seemed to have injured Li Fan's bone marrow, causing him unbearable pain. With blood dripping from the corner of his mouth, he forcefully urged his true chi and walked another round. Unexpectedly, after this round, Li Fan's pain seemed to have disappeared. Instead, it was an addictive feeling of comfort, as if it was healing Li Fan's meridians. Oh, Li Fan's mouth could not help but let out a comfortable moan. It was a little too comfortable. This skill seemed to be beyond his expectations. Li Fan felt a little addicted to practicing. Not only did he not feel pain, but it became more and more comfortable. And in Li Fan's mind, there seemed to be a burst of Buddhist voice lingering. He felt as if he had come to the top of a spiritual mountain, surrounded by golden Buddhas, bodhisattvas, arhats, each chanting sutras, directly attacking the soul. Li Fan suddenly opened his eyes. His eyes seemed to emit a golden light. He felt comfortable all over. All the pores on his body subconsciously opened. Because of switching meridians, Li Fan's 9 acupoints were once again sealed. After practicing the first chapter, Li Fan's first acupoint was opened. He wanted to immediately practice the second chapter, but there was a feeling of powerlessness. It seemed that the content of the first chapter was already too rich, enough for Li Fan to digest for a long time. Li Fan felt that it was not that his true chi was insufficient. His physical strength was not abundant, but his mental strength seemed to be a little insufficient. Practicing this inner force would make him abnormally tired. It seems that I can only stop here today. Li Fan spat out a mouthful of turbid air, letting his state gradually relax. However, the cultivation speed of this martial art was particularly slow. In the past, if Li Fan wanted to improve his inner force, he could do it very quickly. But now, after practicing for a night, his inner force did not improve. It only increased a little, about a dragon or a tiger. Li Fan stopped practicing, then formed a seal with both hands, and then his palms faintly emitted a blood-red brilliance. There was only one move recorded on each manual, and they were all palm techniques. The page that Li Fan was learning was called Vajra. This was a defensive palm technique. Li Fan wanted to test its power, but he didn't have the chance to use it now. It was better to hide this kind of martial art first, in case it caused any trouble. Li Fan decided to secretly practice this martial art every night. He would first strengthen the first posture, and after he was familiar with it, he would try the second posture. It sounded like a sex book. However, it was actually a very serious kung fu. For martial fighters, training was rest, and rest was training. Li Fan stayed in this room for a few days. His meals were delivered to him. When he had nothing to do, he could go skating in the small lake at the back. His days were quite comfortable. This kind of life lasted until the end of the year. Wake up, Li Fan. On this day, Li Fan was woken up by his fiancée. He rubbed his eyes and realized that it was still dark outside. Why did you wake me up so early? Li Fan sat up from the bed and stretched. He slept naked out of habit. Moronging immediately turned her head away. Pervert. Hey, I was sleeping in my own bed. What's there to be perverted about? Besides, we're already an old couple. I'll just suffer a little if you look at me. I'll just bear with it. Do you know what your most powerful ability is? My powerful internal energy? My pure fist technique? No. It's your ability to spout nonsense with a straight face. Ahaha. Li Fan laughed dryly and didn't deny it. Hurry up and pack up. Today is the first day of the new year. There are many things to do. Li Fan was stunned for a moment. It was already the first day of the new year? Last night, I should have asked you to have dinner together, but my father's behavior, you know it too. It's okay. I'm quite relieved to be left alone, Li Fan said. These few days, he had been focusing on practicing the kung fu on the atlas. He really felt that one day in the cave was equivalent to 1,000 years in the world. He didn't expect it to be the first day of the new year. Time passed so quickly. Hurry up and put on your clothes. We're going to pay our New Year's greetings together. Also, our relatives will come, Moronging said as she picked up a set of clothes and threw it to Li Fan. Li Fan took a look. It was a set of arrow sleeves with a golden vest and a red robe inside. It was probably a festive occasion for the new year. Come with me. When you meet our relatives, remember to treat their words as if they're barking dogs. Moronging turned around and walked out of the door after saying that. Li Fan shrugged his shoulders. Moronging was probably the first person to treat their relatives this way. Li Fan washed up, put on his clothes, and went out. Moronging was still waiting outside. When Li Fan came out, she naturally took Li Fan's arm. The two of them looked like a real husband and wife as they walked together to the largest house. Many red lanterns were hung on every house in Morong Villa. Although the sky was not bright yet, the whole villa was illuminated in a bright red light. It was very festive. The place where Morong lived was called the Purple Chi Courtyard. It could be said to be the most luxurious place in the entire Morong Villa. The Purple Chi Courtyard alone had 9 courtyards. There were mountains and rivers in the courtyard, and the feng shui was excellent. There were already many relatives of Morong standing in the courtyard, waiting to go in and pay their New Year's greetings to Morong one by one. The further in they went, the more distinguished the relatives' bloodlines were. And those who could enter the 7-star tower were direct relatives of Morong Villa. Isn't this the young master? Long time no see. TSK, you should call her Alliance Chief Morong. As soon as Moronging entered, she heard many people mocking and ridiculing her. These people were full of jealousy. Li Fan could see this from their eyes. My daughter, the future head of Morong Villa, you're finally here. At the head of the table, Morong Bo sat there. When he saw his eldest daughter, a smile immediately appeared on his face. Come. Sit beside me. Moronging walked over and sat next to Morong Bo. And Morong Bo could only sit a little further away. Obviously, this seat was arranged according to the status in the family. Moronging sat there. Although no one said a word, there were more and more looks of jealousy. Brother-in-law, come quickly. I've saved a seat for you. Morong Bo patted the empty seat next to her and asked Li Fan to sit down. Thank you. Li Fan was very touched that his sister-in-law was so concerned about him. He sat next to Morong Bo naturally, and a young man in the distance immediately stood up and pointed a finger directly at Li Fan's nose. Who do you think you are? How dare you sit in that seat? Chapter 406. Morong Du, how can you talk to your brother-in-law like that? Pay attention to your propriety. A middle-aged man who looked similar to Morong Du scolded him, but his voice was not strict at all, as if he was indulging him. Li Fan understood that although this person seemed to be scolding him, he was actually indulging him. And this person called Morong Du should be Morong Ying's cousin. Forgive me for being rude, but I just can't stand to see someone being presumptuous in our Morong house. Morong Du's body was strong, and his appearance was also dignified. His words were filled with sharpness, which was even colder than the cold wind outside the window. You're just a parasite that lives on Morong's breath. What qualifications do you have to sit there? Morong Du pointed at Li Fan's nose and fiercely ridiculed him. You're only fit to stand at the side. Do you know that? If it was a normal day, Morong Du would definitely be unhappy when someone said such words during the New Year's Eve dinner. But today, Morong Du did not say a word. Morong Ying frowned. She originally planned to reprimand this unruly cousin, but Li Fan smiled and cupped his hands towards this Morong Du. This is cousin Morong Du, right? Yes, but is my name something that you can call? Morong Du arrogantly said. You're only fit to call me Lord. Parasite. Okay, Lord. I'm just curious, why haven't I heard of Lord's name in the Jianghu? Li Fan asked. This one is untalented, but after roaming the Jianghu, I only got the humble name Little Overlord. But for such a powerful person like Lord Morong Du, you must have some kind of name, right? Why don't you tell me about it so that I can admire you? Morong Du choked for a moment. Where did he get his name from? There was no such name in the Jianghu. As for Li Fan, no matter what, his title of Little Overlord was well known. Brother-in-law, how did you repel the Lord of Golden Eagle Castle, in Wuchao? Can you tell me about it? Morong said with a smile. I like listening to brother-in-law talk about this. It's just a narrow victory. Castle Master Yin went easy on me. It's not worth mentioning. Li Fan said humbly. Oh right, I wonder how many moves cousin brother can take with Castle Master Yin? Morong asked again. Oh. I'm sorry, I said something wrong. I forgot that Castle Master Yin is also a big shot. He disdains sparring with his cousin. You, Morong blushed. I just didn't have the chance to spar with Yin Wuchao. He, this old fellow, was also a person who deceived the world to gain fame. Leave it to me. I'll beat him until he's looking for his teeth all over the floor. That sounds amazing. Cousin brother's mouth is too amazing. Morong gave him a thumbs up with a face full of admiration. Li Fan, if you have the guts, let's spar now. I'll let you know what a Morong family's martial artist is. I'm sorry, Lord Cousin. The martial artist rule is that no fighting is allowed at the end of the year. Li Fan rejected the evil dragon Morong's challenge. I think you're just a coward who doesn't dare to accept the challenge. Morong immediately mocked. Whatever Lord Cousin says, I'll do it. Li Fan didn't seem to be angry. In order to resist his inner demon, he could still control this little bit of emotion. Trash. Morong sneered, but Morong Bo slapped the table. He finally shut his mouth. You young people always like to be competitive. I understand that you're young and hot-tempered. Morong Bo said slowly, there's a chance for you to show your hot-bloodedness. Li Fan pricked up his ears, as if he had something to announce. The Morong family should know this tradition. It's a cliché. Morong Bo said with a smile. This year's 8 immortals crossing the sea will depend on the ability of the young people. 8 immortals crossing the sea? What's that? Li Fan directly transmitted his voice and asked his fiancée, who was sitting next to Morong Bo, you'll know when the time comes. Morong Ying also transmitted her voice back. A very boring program. Come on, my children. After eating the dumplings, the rest of the time is yours. After Morong Bo finished, Morong Bo's father spoke. Patriarch, This year's 8 immortals crossing the sea is not suitable for the young patriarch to appear, right? Yeah, she's already this strong. Isn't it too unfair to let her participate? It's fine if Xiao AI wants to participate, but forget about Xiao Ying. The group of people muttered, but Murong Ying sneered. My cousins don't even dare to compete for a woman? Her words made many people blush, but there were also thick-skinned ones. You can't say that. After all, you're strong. You should give in to your brothers. What's the point of a girl being too powerful? In the end, she'll still have to get married. That's right. Leave the opportunity to your brothers. These people were chattering, and Li Fan could not stand it anymore. Murong Ying's brows were also tightly knitted together. It was obvious that she was holding back her anger. Wife, you don't need to appear for this kind of thing. Li Fan said with a smile. Leave it to me. You want to replace Murong? Replace the young patriarch? Murong sneered again, but Li Fan said, after all, I'm her fiancé. I'm not as strong as her. Brothers, you have to give in to me. Coward. There were many cold snorts, but Li Fan just raised his wine glass and drank it to them. In that case, let's let Li Fan replace my eldest daughter. Murong Bo agreed. If that's the case, does anyone have any opinion? Everyone was naturally happy, and no one objected. If Murong Ying were to participate in the competition, she would undoubtedly become the champion once again. After eating the unhappy dumplings, Li Fan followed everyone to a lake outside. This lake was not small, at least a kilometer in radius. In the center of the lake, there was a small pavilion with a firecracker tied to it. This firecracker was not small, and no one knew what kind of beautiful fireworks it would release. On the other side of the lake stood Li Fan and a group of young people from Murong's family. Each of them held a torch in their hands, which was their only source of fire. The only foothold on the lake was some floating duckweed. They were all green, as if it was summer. Li Fan heard from Murong that there was a mechanical heating at the bottom of the lake, and it was a warm lake all year round. Therefore, in winter, not only did the lake not freeze, the plants in the lake were also evergreen. Murong Bo sat on a specially made throne and pointed at the small pavilion on the opposite side of the lake. Do you see that? This is your target. Let us wait and see who will be first this year. The champion will be me. Murong pointed to herself and then pointed to Li Fan. You, be careful of your legs. Chapter 407. Cousin, please be merciful. Li Fan cupped his hands, looking like a modest young master, which made Murong Ying roll her eyes behind him. This guy, it would be strange if he could be modest. Everyone should know the rules. You can think of your own method, but no lives are allowed. Murong sat there with one hand gently supporting his chin. Remember the taboo of the Murong family. Killing each other is absolutely not allowed. Li Fan saw many people laughing, including Murong Du, who laughed the happiest. Li Fan knew what he was thinking. Killing each other was not allowed, but he was an outsider. The concept of being a member of the same clan did not exist for him. These people would probably be able to attack him unscrupulously. The distance of 500 meters with Qinggong was actually not that difficult for him. Everyone stood on the shore, waiting for Murong Du to give the order. Murong Du waved his hand, and a sword beside him flew out, spun a few times in the air, and finally stood on a stone tablet by the lake with a clang. In just a split second, everyone started to move. This was the signal to start. These disciples of the Murong family, each showing their supernatural power, took out their strongest Qinggong, stepped on duckweed, and flew toward the small pavilion in the center of the lake. These people constantly harassed their companions on the left and right while they were flying. In this competition, there were no companions. Even if they had the same surname, at this moment, they were enemies. These people of the Murong family were fighting to be the first to reach the island in the center of the lake and light the firecrackers. And Li Fan found that these people's strength was also uneven. Some were high, some were low. That Murong Du was one of the best. He ran in the front and did not forget to move left and right, kicking away his fellow clansmen who caught up. Only Li Fan was still standing on the shore, stretching his muscles. They are almost at the island in the center of the lake. Are you still not going? Zhang Feng stood at the side with his arms crossed. He couldn't help but ask Li Fan. His expression was cold, and it was hard to tell what he was feeling. However, Li Fan knew that he was not worried that he would not be able to win the championship. Instead, he wanted to test his strength. Li Fan knew that, but he was not in a hurry. He did 2 more stretches. There's no rush. It's just a game anyway. Li Fan said. This is not an ordinary game. Zhang Feng said gloomily. Be careful not to lose eldest Mrs. Honor. At this moment, Murong was already 300 meters away, less than half the distance to the island in the middle of the lake. Don't worry, I'm leaving now. As Li Fan spoke, he suddenly lowered his body and pressed his hands on the ground. His whole body was almost stuck to the lake shore. His posture was like that of a frog. It didn't look good at all. Many of Murong's family members even started to laugh at him. However, Li Fan's following performance made them unable to laugh anymore. Li Fan's feet bounced, and his whole body suddenly jumped out. Black Toad crossing the water. Li Fan's body was like a cannonball. He quickly skimmed the surface of the water and glided forward. The water on the lake was separated by him, falling to the 2 sides. At the same time, he used his true chi to protect the torch so that it would not be extinguished. In the blink of an eye, Li Fan had already surpassed most of the Murong's disciples and soon arrived behind Murong. What? Murong looked back and was shocked to see Li Fan gliding over while sticking to the surface of the lake. The people on the shore were even more shocked. What kind of qinggong was this? He could actually jump more than 300 meters. He relied on Murong's family, but what he used was not the kung fu of Murong's family. These people didn't know that the black toad crossing the water was true to its name. The reason why Li Fan was able to glide more than 300 meters in an instant was because he was relying on the true chi that was wrapped under his body to glide against the water surface. He was like a boat, relying on the water surface to be able to move so fast. Li Fan's speed was astonishing. He was quickly approaching the island in the middle of the lake. Damn it, you cunning parasite. Although he didn't know what method Li Fan used, it was obvious that he had angered Murong. He extended his hand and pulled out his sword from his waist, preparing to repel Li Fan. However, there was a smile on Li Fan's face. His body suddenly bounced, and with a divine deer ascending to the moon, his whole body leaped high into the sky, as if he was a real deer ascending to the heavens, leaping high. What? Murong saw Li Fan flying high into the sky and was shocked. What kind of qinggong was this? Why was it so powerful? Li Fan's jump was more than 10 meters high, and he was still rising. In the blink of an eye, he was already 30 to 40 meters high, and with 2 jumps, he had crossed more than 200 meters. Finally, he easily landed on the opposite pavilion. Beside him was the dragon head firecracker. All the Murong family disciples felt a chill in their hearts. Did they lose just like that? But Li Fan didn't light up the firecracker. He just sat there and looked indifferently at the people who were still running in the lake. With one hand holding the torch, he stretched out his other hand and beckoned. Who wants to take this firecracker? Come quickly, it's right here. Bastard! Isn't it just that your qinggong is a little better? Go over and beat him down. Li Fan's attitude angered all the Murong family disciples, especially Murong. He roared and increased his speed. When he got close to the pavilion, he directly jumped up and pointed the sword in his hand at Li Fan. Murong family was good at controlling sword chi. While Murong was in midair, he waved his sword and threw out a sword chi towards Li Fan. However, Li Fan stood on the small pavilion, grabbed the torch, and with a posture of a golden rooster standing on one leg, he kicked away the sword chi with one foot. The sword chi flew out diagonally and cut off a corner of the pavilion. It's not over yet, Murong roared. He waved his hands continuously and a few sword chi flew towards Li Fan. However, Li Fan only relied on one leg, kicked left and right, and kicked the sword chi away. Cousin, if you want this firecracker, you need to work harder. Li Fan seemed to be mocking him, which angered Murong even more. You are not in the family. Your death is here. Parasite. With that, Murong fell towards Li Fan. The sword in his hand carried a huge sword chi and slashed towards Li Fan, but Li Fan just moved sideways and dodged Murong's sword. At the same time, he hit Murong's acupoint with White Crane Head, causing Murong's right hand to go numb and the sword in his hand fell out of his hand. Then, Li Fan kicked his chest and immediately kicked Murong down into the water. Luckily, they were in shallow water and Murong would not drown. But more Murong disciples had already jumped onto the pavilion. But Li Fan only used one leg to kick them down. There were dozens of Murong clan disciples, but in the end, Li Fan was the only one who could stand in the pavilion. Chapter 408. Seniors of the Murong family. I'm really sorry. Although he was 500 meters away, Li Fan's voice seemed to ring in everyone's ears. It seems that I can only take the first place today. Your child still needs more guidance. The people of the Murong family gritted their teeth in anger, but no one could say anything. How did Murong find a fiancé? How could his kung fu be so abnormal? Murong was considered one of the best in the family, but she was kicked into the lake with one move. It was too abnormal. Zhang Feng, go and get the dragon head. Murong didn't want Li Fan to be so proud. He glanced at the dragon head and ordered his disciple. Yes, master. Zhang Feng had been standing there with his arms crossed. When he heard the family head's order, he didn't hesitate to grab the torch, jump with his feet, and suddenly jump out. Although Zhang Feng's Qinggong was not as strange as Li Fan's, it was more free and easy. With a step on the lotus leaf, he could jump hundreds of meters forward. Almost in a few leaps, Zhang Feng had already landed in front of Li Fan and stood on the other side of the pavilion. Brother Jiang, long time no see. I wonder how your kung fu is progressing? Li Fan asked. I lost the last battle, Zhang Feng said, but this time, I'm here for revenge. Very good. Li Fan smiled. He was also looking forward to fighting with an expert who was one with the heart and demon. But isn't it not good to fight at the end of the year? Haven't you been fighting for a long time? Zhang Feng's eyes suddenly showed a trace of coldness. He suddenly reached forward and then reached out to grab the dragon head firecracker beside Li Fan. However, Li Fan kicked out and blocked in front of him. His foot was only 10 centimeters away from Zhang Feng's cheek, and Zhang Feng's hair was blown up by the wind. Zhang Feng quickly put the torch behind him to prevent it from being extinguished. Sorry, this thing might not belong to you. Li Fan reminded Zhang Feng, what I want is mine. Zhang Feng didn't stand on ceremony at all. He pointed 2 fingers at the acupuncture points on Li Fan's legs and jabbed them. It was the 12 acupoint strikes that he practiced. Zhang Feng had been cultivating this for so many years. Naturally, he had mastered the technique to perfection. Even if it was Li Fan, with the protection of his true chi, he was not confident that he could block this acupoint hitting hand without suffering any damage. Li Fan quickly withdrew his right leg and turned to kick Zhang Feng's face. Zhang Feng lowered his body and dodged Li Fan's kick. At the same time, he jabbed his hands at Li Fan's calf. However, Li Fan did not dodge this time. His leg came down heavily. Bang! Li Fan's calf was jabbed by the acupoint hitting hand, and Zhang Feng's chest also took the full brunt of Li Fan's rushing thunder kick. Zhang Feng's body heavily smashed into the pavilion, crushing the roof tiles. His body was temporarily paralyzed for a moment because of the electric light. Li Fan took a step back. His right calf was slightly numb, but he still stabilized his footsteps. Is the warm-up over? Zhang Feng suppressed the numbness in his body. When he heard Li Fan's words, he did a carp flip and stood up. Didn't Brother Jiang practice human-demon unification? Li Fan gently waved his hand. No. It seems to be called heart-demon unification. 3 major martial arts talents: turning virtual into reality, aberration bone-changing, heart-demon unification. Zhang Feng coldly replied, Oh, yes, heart-demon unification. Li Fan nodded. That's it. Don't you want to show it? It's not time yet. Zhang Feng mercilessly rejected Li Fan. Don't be such a wet blanket. If you want to play, you should play to your heart's content, right? It's just a game. I don't want to take it seriously. If you lose, won't he blame you? This has nothing to do with you, Zhang Feng said, and suddenly stepped forward. A series of acupoint hitting hand attacked Li Fan again and again. However, Li Fan dodged left and right, making Zhang Feng's attacks hit empty air. In the end, Li Fan even closed his eyes, but Zhang Feng still couldn't attack him. And when Zhang Feng approached the dragon head firecracker, Li Fan would force him to retreat. Within a meter of Li Fan's body, there seemed to be a vacuum circle, blocking Zhang Feng from entering. While the two of them attacked, they also had to protect the torch in their hands, lest the other party extinguish it. Enough, Li Fan sighed. Since you don't want to fight seriously, then I've played enough. As Li Fan said, it was as if he had entered a strange state, making Zhang Feng, who was looking at him from a close distance, stunned for a moment. Zhang Feng had an illusion that the person in front of him was not Li Fan, but a shining golden Buddha. Li Fan held the torch with one hand and slapped forward with the other. Merciful palm. A powerful palm wind blew on Zhang Feng's body, causing him to almost lose his footing. And the torch in Zhang Feng's hand was also blown out by this strong wind. At the same time, Li Fan swung his hand and the torch flew out, igniting the dragon head firecracker. With a rumbling sound, the dragon head flew out and rushed into the sky, turning into a huge firework. In the sky, there was a huge dragon swaying, as if it was roaring, preparing to rush into the sky. This huge firework could only be made by Morong's family. But when Li Fan set off this firework, no one seemed to be excited. Everyone's face turned ugly, except for Morong. This little girl kept clapping her hands. Brother-in-law is great. Really great. The little girl was very happy and kept clapping her hands, not caring how ugly the faces of the relatives around her were. Until Morong both scolded her, this girl stopped. This year's champion still belongs to Morong Ying. Morong Bo announced, therefore, Morong Ying can still sit on my left next year. Li Fan then understood that this champion would decide the order of the seats next year. This was not just a matter of the order, but also related to the position of the next family head. Obviously, Morong Ying had been holding the advantage, and it was very likely that she would continue to do so. This was not a good thing for the other people in the family. These cousins of Morong Bo were jealous of one thing, and that was why Morong Ying was so outstanding. Only Morong Bo did not say anything. He thought of the past. When everyone found out that he, Morong Bo, had two daughters, almost everyone rejoiced in his misfortune. He, Morong Bo, the strongest person in Morong Villa, actually gave birth to two daughters. What did this mean? It meant that the next patriarch might not have any relationship with Morong Bo's bloodline. But Morong Bo actually felt that it was nothing. Daughters were good enough. He was in his prime and could be the family head for 50 years. But Morong Ying's childhood was unfortunate. Even if she had the strongest father, other people looked at her with a kind of sympathy and a kind of joy. Chapter 409. Morong Ying grew up in the eyes of others. Everyone thought that she could not shoulder the responsibility of the Morong family. She was just a woman. That was the evaluation of the Morong family, including the elders of Morong Bo, about her. When she was 15, Morong Ying defeated the Wu-Tang sect leader. When she returned home, everyone looked at her differently. At that time, the Wu-Tang sect leader was recognized as the strongest person below the Grandmaster. However, Morong Ying changed everything. When she was 16, she became the leader of the martial arts world. She returned to the family, lit the firecrackers, and sat next to her father. After father abdicates, I will take over the Morong family. That was all she said. Is there anyone who disagrees? Everyone was convinced. No one dared to say no. Morong Bo felt gratified to have such a daughter. She was like a treasure to him, and such a treasure was taken by a despicable man. Morong Bo would not allow such a thing to happen. This new year was an opportunity. He wanted to make Li Fan back off. The 8 immortals crossing the sea. He had thought that Li Fan would lose. However, he did not expect that Li Fan's qigong and kicks had improved to such a level. Zhang Feng might not be able to catch up to him. He thought that Zhang Feng was a good seedling. He spent so much effort to cultivate him, but he was disappointed. Li Fan must have used some underhanded means. Murongbo was very dissatisfied with his loss. After the 8 immortals crossing the sea, Murongbo sat with a few of his good friends in the family and expressed his dissatisfaction angrily. This parasite. Maybe he took some forbidden drug at that time. Murongbo guessed fiercely. He must have taken drugs. Another member of the family named Murong Quan Bo made a judgment. I heard that there is something called the Heavenly Demon Pill. It's quite powerful. Maybe this guy took it. That's right. In order to fight for this position, he must have made preparations. Murong slammed the table. This damned bastard. We must punish him. But he's staying in the wing room, and he's protected by Murong Bo. We can't do that, can we? A timid clansman couldn't help but ask. Huh, do you really think that Murong will protect him? Murong laughed coldly. Patriarch hates this person. He is a parasite. That's right. I can see everything from the Patriarch's gaze. Indeed, the Patriarch's gaze towards him was filled with disgust. The others also agreed with Murong's words. So, Murongbo won't care about him. Even if we make a big fuss, Murongbo will protect us. In fact, he can't wait to use our hands to get rid of this son-in-law that he doesn't like. What about Murong Ying? It won't come out, right? Don't worry. It's the end of the year. As the young patriarch, she has a lot of things to do. Moreover, many people are coming to pay New Year's greetings to the chief of Wulin. She won't have time to care about this. Murong pulled out his sword and placed it on the table. I'm going to do this. Who else wants to participate? Me. Then count me in. Everyone agreed. A total of 5 experts from the 5 clans decided the same fate for Li Fan. Tomorrow is the last day that the parasite will stay in this house. We'll make our move tonight. Good. Agreed. Everyone agreed one after another. They were just waiting for the night to fall. In Murong's heart, he was the most outstanding one in Murong's clan. Since young, he was extremely talented. Moreover, he was a male. Therefore, the clan had high hopes for him. The clan's best treasures were given to him, first to help him cultivate his qi and build his foundation. They were preparing to make him the next successor of Murong's clan. This matter continued until the appearance of Murong Ying. This woman is simply a demon that crawled out from hell. She's here to end his good days. Forget about Murong Ying. Now there's Li Fan. Who knows what method this guy used to become a parasite in Murong's house? He even practiced some messy martial arts. How could he possibly be stronger than her? Therefore, when night fell, Murong brought a few of his brothers. They put on black clothes and quietly went to Li Fan's room. The few of them had already discussed it. They were just waiting for Murong's order to make their move. At this time, Li Fan was in the living room. Moreover, he wasn't the only one there. A youngster carrying a large sword sat opposite Li Fan. A chessboard was placed in front of them. The most traditional China chess. Li Fan had played it with Shaoxi a few times. Therefore, he had some experience. The youngster carrying the large sword was obviously a little lacking. He looked at the chessboard and couldn't help but frown. Why? Are you going to admit defeat? Are you frightened by my superb chess skills? Li Fan couldn't help but ask. No, the youngster shook his head. I'm thinking, do you have other guests? Of course not. Just a few mice. Li Fan waved his hand. The youngster nodded. Then I'll help you get rid of them. As the youngster spoke, he slammed the table. That chessboard jumped up. The youngster's cannon crossed the river. Li Fan's elephant bounced up. The youngster waved his hand. This chess piece flew out, smashing the window and hitting the head of a Murong's disciple outside. That guy screamed and fell out of the window. Your elephant has been eaten. The youngster reminded Li Fan. Then you can forget about your cannon. Li Fan immediately used his horse to eat the youngster's cannon. At the same time, he tossed it out. This cannon made a turn in the air and hit another disciple who wanted to sneak attack. Wasted 2 chess pieces. but there are still 3 mice. Li Fan sighed. If you want to come in, it's best to go through the front door. Going through the window is not a gentleman's behavior. Parasite. Don't you dare be so arrogant. The door was kicked open, and Murong-du, along with 2 of his companions, walked in with a fierce look on his face while carrying a long sword. Isn't this my cousin? Li Fan looked at this familiar face and smiled. You know that I'm leaving tomorrow, so you specially came to send me off? Friend, we have some scores to settle. This has nothing to do with you. You'd better get out of the way. Murong did not answer Li Fan. Instead, she stared at that youngster and scolded. I'm afraid that won't do. The youngster pondered for a moment and then said, We haven't finished playing yet. Then you'll be in trouble with him. Under Murong's order, her 2 companions swung their swords and attacked the youngster. The youngster sighed. Murong's swordsmanship is ruined. He did not even pull out the greatsword on his back. He just picked up the broom beside him, and with a few sword moves, he sent the swords of the 2 Murong's disciples flying. Murong was a bit dumbfounded. This guy, who is he? Chapter 410. Murong was in disbelief. Who was this youth with a huge sword on his back? How could he use a broom to send his partner's sword flying? Who are you? Murong-du gripped his sword tightly and asked with some apprehension. My surname is Chun. The youth replied simply, Huashan's Chun Junhua. Edgeless sword. Chun Junhua. The youth revealed his name, causing Murong's heart to skip a beat. Edgeless sword. This was the title given to Qin Junhua in the pugilistic world. As mentioned before, those who could obtain a title in the pugilistic world were all top-notch experts. Murong could not understand. Why would a Huashan elite disciple play chess with a parasite here? How is this possible? The game is not over yet. Can you please leave first? Chun Junhua asked politely. I don't care what edgeless sword you are. Murong-du's jealousy had already burned everything. He was jealous of Li Fan, and he was also jealous of Qin Junhua. He just lacked an opportunity. If he had the chance, he would do better than them. The pugilistic world owed him a title. Yes, he should be called the strongest king. Murong's heart burned with anger when he thought of this. He held his sword and gathered all his true chi on the blade. This sword faintly emitted a silver glow. The sword aura of Murong's family shone like the family's emblem. No matter who you are, you will be defeated by my sword today. Murong roared. Li Fan shrugged his shoulders. I'm really sorry. Since you are my guest, let me deal with you. Dream on. Murong brandished his sword and slashed at Li Fan. The sword aura seemed to tear through the air and instantly appeared in front of Li Fan. Li Fan only stretched out his hand and used his iron palms to forcefully tear apart the sword aura. You don't even have a tenth of Murong Ying's sword chi. Li Fan bluntly told the jealous Murong. If you have the time to find trouble with me, you might as well practice your swordsmanship. My swordsmanship is completely natural. I don't need you to teach me. As Murong spoke, she pounced in front of Li Fan and continuously attacked Li Fan with her long sword. Murong-du was, after all, a young talent nurtured by the Murong family. His swordsmanship was remarkable. However, to Li Fan, who was used to Murong Ying's swordplay, when he looked at Murong's speed, it was indeed a little lacking. Li Fan nodded to the white crane twice and flicked away Murong-du's sword. At the same time, his left hand suddenly made a tiger claw, directly grabbing onto Murong's face, grabbing his head and pressing him to the ground. Bam! A hole was smashed on the floor. Murong-du felt his vision go black. The sharp pain made him temporarily lose consciousness and temporarily dizzy. When he woke up again, only 1 or 2 seconds had passed, but it felt like a century. Go back and practice again, cousin. Li Fan said to Murong-du, who was a little stunned from the fall. Otherwise, next time you won't be able to keep your head. It's very likely that it will turn into brain juice. Parasite. Murong-du still fiercely said, "You must have taken some forbidden medicine. I will definitely find out. I will drive you out of here." Clang. Li Fan picked up Murong-du's long sword, brushed past his ear, and stabbed the side of his head. Murong-du was so scared that his hair was trembling. For a long time, he did not say a word. "Now, get out of here." Li Fan kicked Murong-du out. Murong-du fell outside the house. He did not even care about his companions. Using his hands and feet, he awkwardly ran away. They don't have the demeanor of the Murong family. Chun Junhua looked at the chessboard. While thinking, he gave an evaluation. The Murong family has declined. After driving the remaining 2 people out of the room, Li Fan closed the door and said, "At least in these people, it has declined. Practicing martial arts should not have jealousy." Chun Junhua sighed. "Once there is jealousy, it will go astray and become a devil." "Exactly. But from the breathing I heard, the devil in Brother Li's body is not shallow." "Xiaohua, you really have good hearing." Li Fan could not help but praise. Chun Junhua felt that this name was strange. "Yes, I practice too fast. The devil in my heart is naturally heavy." In Mount Hua, there is a breathing technique called Purple Qi from the East. Chun Junhua said, "This technique can help you refine the righteousness and suppress the devil in your heart. Can you teach me?" Hearing that there was such a kung fu, Li Fan was a little interested. "I need to consult the sect leader first. After all, it is the kung fu of Mount Hua." Chun Junhua smiled with some embarrassment. "Understandable." Li Fan nodded. "It seems that this trip to Mount Hua with you will be very rewarding. The observatory of Mount Hua is my favorite place." Chun Junhua's calm face seemed to have an extra hint of joy. "When we get there, let's have a good exchange of swordsmanship." "Of course, I will satisfy you, Xiaohua." Li Fan chuckled. His words made Chun Junhua's chrysanthemum cold. "Then when do we leave?" "I think tonight is not a bad idea." Li Fan already did not want to stay in Murong's house any longer. One more minute would make him feel tired. Although there were 2 of his women here, let's say they were his, there were more people that he did not like. "I have 2 fast horses." Chun Junhua immediately said, "We can travel 1,000 miles in a day. We can reach Mount Hua in 3 days and 3 nights. Damn, I don't want to ride a horse." Li Fan had ridden Guan Wenbao's Lisa once, and it was very uncomfortable. The warriors on their horses were the real warriors. After riding a horse, Li Fan's legs hurt for 2 days. "Then how are we going to Mount Hua?" "By train." Li Fan proposed a more modern method, but Chun Junhua shook his head. "Mount Hua has rules. Although modern tools are convenient, they are not conducive to cultivation." "Then what do you want to do?" "Why don't we compare our leg strength?" Li Fan said, "Fuck you. It's such a long distance. Run there?" "Brotherly, you admit defeat?" "Stop it, Xiaohua. I'm afraid you can't keep up." "Brotherly, you must be joking. Although my martial arts is a little weak, I think my Qinggong is not bad." Chun Junhua rarely boasted, but hearing him say that his Qinggong was good, Li Fan was very surprised. "All right, then let's compete. Young hero Li, please. Let me pack my things first." "There are not too many rules in the pugilistic world. Why don't we set off now?" Chun Junhua was rather carefree. He directly tied his shoes a little tighter. "Brotherly, do you want me to go easy on you?" "What a joke. There is no need to go easy on me. Let's go." Li Fan was also angry. He actually wanted to give in to him. How could this be? Without hesitation, he immediately opened the door and rushed out. Chapter 411. Along the way, they walked through deserted places to avoid being too shocking. Li Fan used the deer scamper. His legs were strong and steady. Along the way, he kept flying. Only the snowflakes behind him seemed to be unable to catch him. The Mount Hua sect youngster's Qinggong was even more amazing. He stepped on his huge sword and used his qi to control the sword. It was almost as if he was gliding along the ground. Li Fan felt that the way he rode the sword was similar to his black toad crossing the water. Chen Junhua also wrapped his sword with qi and stepped on it, moving forward at high speed. Every time the sword slowed down, he would step on it like he was on a skateboard. He would put down one of his feet and step on the sword again, gliding forward another 100 meters. People who didn't know better would think that this guy could really ride the sword and fly. The two of them, one in front and one behind, were almost touching each other. When they were hungry, they would eat the dry food that Chen Junhua brought with him. When they were thirsty, they would drink the dew. It really felt like they were walking in the martial world. In less than a day, they arrived at the foot of Mount Hua. The weather was cold and Mount Hua was covered in snow. It was indeed a quiet place for cultivation. Perhaps because of the cold weather, there weren't many tourists on Mount Hua, which was originally a tourist attraction. Chen Junhua led Li Fan into the main hall of Mount Hua. Then, he led Li Fan to the side hall at the back where tourists weren't allowed to enter. There were a few workers in front of the side hall. When they saw Chen Junhua, they didn't stop him and let him and Li Fan walk in. The part outside is for tourists. Chen Junhua explained casually, after all, we need to eat too. We need to generate income. Li Fan was speechless. This way of generating income was quite modern. However, the real Mount Hua sect is behind the side hall. Tourists are not allowed to enter here. Chen Junhua pointed at the huge mountain gate in front of him and said to Li Fan. At this time, Li Fan was already a little dumbfounded. This place was indeed huge. The first thing he saw were two towering pillars that pierced through the clouds. It was unknown how many years of history they had experienced, but they were still standing tall. On top of it was a plaque of the Mount Hua sect. The name of the sect was written in golden seal script. Behind the gate pillar was the grand hall of the Mount Hua sect. The entire mountain was filled with houses, but they were built according to certain feng shui principles. Brotherly, there are many disciples in the Mount Hua sect. It will be a little troublesome to arrange your accommodation. Chen Junhua pondered for a moment, then asked, why don't you stay in the same room with me? We can also discuss swordsmanship day and night. What do you think? Chen Junhua was truly a sword maniac. Li Fan sized him up a few more times, thinking that this kind of soft and tender-looking pretty boy should be Yen Kai's favorite. Forget it. Sleeping with a man is nothing. Chen Junhua probably doesn't have that kind of hobby. Not long after Chen Junhua and Li Fan entered the mountain gate, a beautiful girl with braided hair ran over excitedly. She was wearing a white robe of the Mount Hua sect, and her steps were light. The girl was quite pretty, but she was a little short. She was about 1.5 meters tall and belonged to the petite category. She was obviously happy to see Chen Junhua. Senior brother, you're finally back. You promised to teach me the wild goose soaring sky last time. I've been waiting for a long time. Little junior sister, don't pester your third senior brother the moment you come. Can't you see that he has guests to entertain? A deep voice was heard. Li Fan turned around and saw a middle-aged man who looked rather mature walking over with a sword hanging on his waist. The little junior sister also had a sword hanging on her waist. It seemed that in the entire Mount Hua sect, Chen Junhua was the only one who carried such a heavy sword. Eldest senior brother. Chen Junhua and the smiling girl bowed to the mature man together. The little junior sister even went up to pull the eldest senior brother's sleeve and said coquettishly, Eldest senior brother, I miss third senior brother, and I want to learn swordsmanship. Eldest senior brother, why don't you teach me properly? Little junior sister, don't mess around. Although the eldest senior brother was scolding her, he touched the little junior sister's hair lovingly. It's the end of the year. There are many things in the sect that require my attention, and your third senior brother has guests to entertain. He just came back recently. Don't pester him too much. But I want to practice swordsmanship. Sect leader said that I can only leave the mountain after I master swordsmanship. The little junior sister pouted as if she was very dissatisfied. Third senior brother always goes down the mountain alone. I'm so bored. All right. Stop messing around. You've made a fool of yourself in front of the guests. The eldest senior brother said as his gaze fell on Li Fan. He cupped his hands and said, I'm sorry. Xia Hong is lively and straightforward. I've made a fool of myself. It's all right. I think this little junior sister is straightforward and cute. The little junior sister blushed as if she was praised. She looked very cute. Mount Hua's Yang Yuanxing, Chun Junhua's eldest senior brother. May I know your name? Extraordinary Escort Agency, Li Fan. Li Fan also cupped his hands. I came rashly and disturbed your esteemed sect. Please forgive me. Oh. When Yang Yuanxing heard Li Fan's name, he was clearly taken aback. His eyebrows shot up. It seemed that Li Fan's name carried some weight. Eldest senior brother, Brother Li is a guest that I invited. He wants to stay with me on Mount Hua for a few days and exchange swordsmanship. Qin Junhua explained at the side. So that's how it is. This is a wonderful thing. Yang Yuanxing nodded. In that case, young hero Li can treat this as your own home. If you need anything, just let Junhua know. Then I shall accept your invitation. Li Fan did not stand on ceremony and immediately agreed. All right, I still have things to take care of, so I won't stay any longer. Young hero Li, please don't take offense for my poor hospitality. How could that be? The scenery here is just right. Just looking at it makes me feel relaxed and happy. Li Fan hurriedly cupped his hands and said, Senior brother Yang, you don't have to be so polite. Just do what you need to do. All right, then I'll see you later. Yang Yuanxing nodded and turned to leave. Xia Yi, on the other hand, felt a little strange. She muttered to herself, Who is this Li Fan? Why does he look so surprised? Senior brother Li, is your swordsmanship very good? Not good. Li Fan hurriedly said, I'm not good at swordsmanship. I only know some martial arts. Aya, martial arts are not as good as swordsmanship. Xia Yi waved her sword. Why don't you become a disciple of my Mount Hua sect and be my junior brother? I can teach you powerful swordsmanship. If you learn 3 moves, I guarantee that you will enjoy endless benefits. In the future, you will be able to do whatever you want in Jianghu. All right. Li Fan nodded, causing Chen Junhua to laugh. Junior sister, don't talk nonsense. His swordsmanship is much better than yours. Chapter 412. Hee, third senior brother, I won't be fooled by you this time. Xiaoho put her hands behind her back and clasped her fingers together. She said proudly, if he's skilled in swordsmanship, why didn't he bring a sword? Also, look at the calluses on his fingers and joints. It's obvious that he practices fist techniques. Your junior sister is quite smart. Li Fan could not help but praise, little girl, you have potential. Practice your swordsmanship well, and strive to be a master when you grow up. Go away, who's a little girl? Xiaoho was immediately unhappy. I'm already 18 years old this year. Li Fan was indeed stunned for a moment. He carefully looked at the petite Xia Yi. He could not imagine that this girl was actually 18 years old. However, if he looked carefully, her cup size did not seem small. Li Fan thought that she had gone through puberty in advance. He did not expect that it was just that she did not grow taller. What are you waiting for? Call me senior sister. Xiaoho looked as if she wanted to tease Li Fan, which made Li Fan laugh. Okay. Senior sister Xia, please guide me. Li Fan cupped his hands at this little girl who was 2 heads shorter than him and respectfully called her senior sister. Xiaoho was so happy that she burst into laughter. Third senior brother, look. I'm not the youngest now. Xiaoho clapped her hands happily, which made Qin Junhua laugh. Okay. You're the best. Go practice your swordsmanship. I'm going to bring Brother Li to see the sect leader. I want to go too. Xiaoho seemed to like to join in the fun and insisted on coming along. Qin Junhua didn't seem to be able to do anything about his little junior sister, so he could only let her follow him like a shadow. Li Fan admired the magnificent Huashan sect along the way. Especially under the cover of snow, the scenery of the Huashan sect was even more beautiful. It was a beautiful sight to behold. Along the way, Xiaoho was like a curious baby and kept asking Li Fan questions. Little junior brother, what fist technique are you practicing? 7 heroes fist? 7 heroes fist? What kind of fist technique is this? I've never heard of it before. You're not lying to me, are you? Humph, I'm your senior sister. You have to respect me. How could I dare to lie to senior sister? It is indeed the seven-hero fist. Your third senior brother can testify for me. Xiaohou looked at Qin Junhua, who hurriedly said, That's right. It's the fist of the seven heroes. It's a fist technique created by Brother Li. That's right. It's self-created. So it's definitely not that powerful. But I'm interested in learning. How about this? You teach me fist techniques, and I teach you sword techniques. Then we'll be fair. Stop messing around. Qin Junhua hurriedly reminded Xiaohou, the Huashan sword technique is not taught to outsiders. If you want to teach it, you have to get permission from the sect leader. What's the rush? I only want to exchange the charming and gentle sword technique. Don't embarrass yourself with those sword techniques that you created yourself. Qin Junhua was speechless. Why? They're all self-created. It's not a loss to exchange them. Little senior sister is right. Let's spar and exchange insights. Li Fan's words made Xiaohou satisfied. That's more like it. I'll let you see the power of my sword techniques later. The three of them talked all the way to the Eastern Aura Hall where the sect leader was. The Eastern Aura Hall was the largest hall of the Huashan sect. There was a golden statue inside, which was the founder of the Huashan sect. It was revered by all the disciples of the sect for generations. The Huashan sect was also the largest sword sect in the pugilistic world. Without exception, all the disciples in the sect focused on practicing sword techniques. Not far behind the Eastern Aura Hall was the buried sword pool of the Huashan sect. Every generation of Huashan sect disciples would put their swords into the buried sword pool when they passed away or washed their hands of the sect. When a new disciple officially became the disciple of the sect, they could take a new sword from the buried sword pool. The sect leader of the Huashan sect, Tang Yao, was wearing a purple robe and sitting in the Eastern Aura Hall. Beside him was a familiar face. Disciple Qin Junhua greets the sect leader. Qin Junhua bowed to Tang Yao. Li Fan pretended not to see the familiar person beside him and bowed as well. I'm Li Fan. Greetings, sect leader Tang. Disciple Xiaohou greets the sect leader. Xiaohou, who was beside him, hurriedly shouted. Li Fan could feel that there were two fiery lights coming from the position of that acquaintance. Little Overlord Li Fan? Haha, a rare guest, a rare guest. Tang Yao was very polite. Previously, Yuanqing asked someone to tell me, and I thought he was joking. I didn't expect that I would really meet young Hero Li. Oh right, young Hero Li, this is the master of the Golden Eagle Castle, in Wuchao. I believe you two have met before. This fate is not shallow. In Wuchao clenched his fists, narrowed his eyes, and glanced at Li Fan. However, in front of Tang Yao, he couldn't act up. In Wuchao's hair was slightly white before, but in such a short period of time, his hair was completely white. It seemed like he had put in a lot of effort for his Golden Eagle Castle. Since young Hero Li is here, have a good stroll around Mount Hua. Enjoy the scenery and feel refreshed. Of course, I've just entered Mount Hua and don't know the rules. If I offend sect leader Tang in the future, please forgive me. Good. Junhua, I still have some matters to discuss with Castle Masterine. Take good care of young Hero Li on my behalf. Don't neglect him. Yes, sect leader. Qin Junhua raised his hand. Sect leader, young Hero Li's heart demon is heavy. I want to teach him our sect's purple aura from the east. I hope sect leader will approve. Oh, it's just a basic breathing technique. You decide. This Qin Junhua was an outstanding disciple of Mount Hua. Tang Yao obviously doted on him. He waved his hand. Go. Bring young Hero Li around Mount Hua. Xiaohou, don't cause trouble. I'm not that mischievous. Xiaohou pouted unhappily. When they were about to leave, In Wuchao suddenly asked, Young Hero Li, may I know which room you'll be staying in tonight? This old man hasn't seen you for a while and wants to catch up with you. In Wuchao, this old man wants to catch up with me? He's probably looking for an opportunity to teach me a lesson. Li Fan wasn't angry. Instead, he said with a smile, Mount Hua is so big and beautiful. I plan to stroll around here for the next few days. Wherever I go, I'll sleep. Very good, very good. Hee hee. The corner of In Wuchao's mouth twitched. Since that's the case, I'll take my leave. Li Fan wanted to laugh, but he held it in and pretended to be open-minded. He turned around and left the hall with Chen Junhua and his junior sister. After leaving the hall, Li Fan could still faintly hear the conversation in the hall. Sect leader Tang, the devil sect is arrogant. You should help me. Castle Masterine. This Mount Hua secret room hasn't been opened for nearly 100 years. I'm afraid. Chapter 413. It was just a few words, and the rest could not be heard clearly. Li Fan could only guess that it was about a secret chamber or something. Does the Huashan sect also have a secret chamber? It would not be good to ask Chen Junhua this question. Brotherly, please take a look. This is our Mount Hua's burial sword pool. Chen Junhua pointed to a huge pool in front of him. Although it was a pool, there was no water in it, and the snow had been swept clean. There were all kinds of treasured swords, long and short, big and small. At first glance, it really looked like a treasure sword graveyard. My edgeless sword was found here. Chen Junhua seemed to be a little emotional. It feels like I did not choose it, but it chose me. That's right, that's right. My charming sword was also chosen here. Xiaohou also joined in the fun. My charming sword is much more beautiful than third senior brother's edgeless sword. As she spoke, Xiaohou pulled out her sword from the scabbard on her waist. Li Fan sized it up. This charming sword's blade was slender, and the cloud patterns on the blade were very exquisite. Under the sunlight, it glowed with a dazzling brilliance. It was indeed very beautiful. Don't pursue flashy things. Chen Junhua reminded his junior sister. Humph, it's enough as long as you have good looks. Xiaohou was very unconvinced and said, Third senior brother is obviously jealous of me. You little girl. Chen Junhua felt helpless towards his junior sister, but Li Fan could not help but want to laugh. It was really interesting to have a junior sister. However, he did not belong to any sect, so it was impossible for him to have a legendary junior sister. Since we are already at the burial sword pool, why not brotherly choose a treasured sword that you like? Is this appropriate? Li Fan was a little surprised. No matter how many treasured swords the Huashan sect had, they could not be casually given away, right? It doesn't matter. Chen Junhua pointed to the treasured swords in the pool and said, As the saying goes, treasured swords are given to heroes. My Huashan sect has such a tradition since ancient times. In the burial sword pool of the Huashan sect, there are not only swords left behind by the seniors of Huashan, but also swordsmen and experts from outside. They can also bury their treasured swords in my burial sword lake. Similarly, the experts outside can also choose a sword that they like from the buried sword pool. However, as I said, it's not us who choose the sword, it's the sword that chooses us. Yeah, it's very difficult to choose a sword from the burial sword pool. Xiaohou also said, Don't be happy just yet. When the time comes, you'll suffer. Humph. All right then. Since you've said so, I'll give it a try. Li Fan rolled up his sleeves and walked into the burial sword pool. Suddenly, he felt a powerful pressure coming from the pool. They were clearly just some inanimate objects, so why did they give him such pressure? Li Fan felt a little strange. He had never felt this way before. In front of him were many treasured swords, all quietly inserted into the soil. But for some reason, Li Fan felt that these swords seemed to have come alive the moment he stepped in. All the treasured swords buzzed, as if something was passing between them. It also seemed like they were repelling Li Fan. Li Fan stretched out his hand to touch one of the treasured swords, but suddenly, a sword chi shot out from it and shot towards Li Fan. Dang! Li Fan used his crane hand to slap away the sword chi. The sword chi hit the treasured sword beside him, producing a crisp knocking sound, as if it was playing a somber tune. I see. Li Fan understood. This was probably the meaning of the so-called sword selection. Are you also resistant to me? Li Fan looked at the constantly trembling treasured swords in surprise. Hee hee, that's why I said it's not that easy to get our Huashan sect's treasured swords. Li Fan did not insist and left the burial sword pool. It seems like I really don't have the talent to use a sword. Brotherly, you're too humble. Why don't you try again? Chen Junhua actually hoped that Li Fan would choose a sword and have a good spar with him. Forget it. I'm really not suitable to use a sword. Humph, you obviously can't. Xiaohou crossed her arms and said, this burial sword pool is not a place that anyone can come to. Third senior brother, you said that he was very powerful, but I think he's just... All right, Xiaohou, go and practice your sword. Don't cause trouble here anymore. Chen Junhua urged Xiaohou to leave. Third senior brother, you're actually chasing me away. Don't you usually pamper me? Do you hate me? Xiaohou began to act coquettishly again. Li Fan said that when this petite girl acted coquettishly, Chen Junhua obviously couldn't stop her. I'm really afraid of you. Chen Jun could only say, go stand at the side. I want to spar with Brotherly, okay? But don't bully junior brother, Xiaohou hurriedly said, as if she was really protecting her junior brother. I'm bullying him. Chen Junhua was speechless, thinking to himself, it's already good enough that he doesn't bully me. Then should I use the 7 Heroes Fist to fight? Li Fan asked. No. I want to spar with Brotherly in sword techniques. Chen Junhua hurriedly said, but I really don't know any sword techniques. It's not good to be too humble. How about this? Li Fan glanced at Xiaohou. Senior sister, why don't you teach me 2 moves of your charming sword technique now? Okay, but what's the use of learning it? Senior sister, teach it to me first. Li Fan didn't say it out loud and only requested, sure, my charming sword technique is broad and profound. You have to watch carefully. If you don't understand it, you can ask me at any time. Xiaohou looked very serious. Watch carefully. Xiaohou was also bored, so she came up with a charming sword technique when she had nothing to do. When this charming sword technique was displayed, Li Fan could clearly see that it was mainly sticky and entangled. This move might not be enough to attack, but it was very good for defense. When this sword technique was displayed, it really had a lingering feeling. It was worthy of the word charming sword technique. However, it didn't have any attack power, so it was no wonder that Chen Junhua didn't like it. Have you seen it? Xiaohou seemed a little excited, and her face was a little red. I've only developed 1 move. That's enough? Li Fan stretched out his hand. Senior sister, can I borrow your sword? Take it. Xiaohou wasn't stingy and handed the charming sword to Li Fan. Li Fan waved his long sword and pointed it at Chen Junhua. Little Hua, come on. Okay. Chen Junhua didn't know what Li Fan was up to, but he still carefully pulled out the big sword behind him. Although the big sword outside was just a scabbard, it was still very powerful when he used it. No one dared to underestimate it. You and I will only compete in sword techniques, regardless of internal energy. Li Fan said, Little Hua, use your sword. Chapter 414. Brotherly, watch my sword. Chen Junhua directly waved the sword in his hand and pierced towards Li Fan's eyebrows. Such a heavy sword in his hands was as if it was nothing. He aimed it straight at Li Fan's eyebrows, and his wrist did not even tremble. However, Li Fan's expression did not change as he stabbed out with his charming, gentle sword. At the same time, the sword was shaken by him and wrapped around Chen Junhua's sword. Chen Junhua was shocked. His sword was like a clay ox entering the sea, making him unable to control it. Clang! Li Fan flicked his long sword, and the edgeless sword in Chen Junhua's hand was directly sent flying. Chen Junhua was surprised as he stared at his palm for a long time. Xiaoyi was even more surprised as she directly grabbed Li Fan's arm. Oh my god, did you just use the charming gentle sword? Yes, senior sister. Li Fan was currently using the ape-faced Buddha from his 7 Hero Fist, Heaven and Earth Law embodiment. He had successfully learned the charming gentle sword, and he was able to draw inferences about other things from it, making the use of this move even more perfect. Even Qin Junhua was at a disadvantage under this move of his. Has little senior sister named this move? Li Fan asked. No, not yet. Since that's the case, why don't we call it Charming Gentle Thorns? All right. Xiai clapped her hands. Junior brother is really artistic. The name you came up with is very nice. This sword technique, how did you execute it? It's much more powerful than what I, senior sister, can do. Senior sister is just too concerned about the magnificence of this move. Li Fan explained, actually, when using this move, with a little more variation, you can easily break the opponent's sword technique. Li Fan's sword technique was not elegant. Instead, it was full of unpredictability, making it hard to predict. Brotherly, watch my sword. Qin Junhua was somewhat unwilling as he waved his edgeless sword and swung it upwards. Li Fan used the same stance. With a charming thorns, he once again entangled Qin Junhua's greatsword and swung it. Clang! Once again, Qin Junhua's sword was sent flying. Qin Junhua was on the verge of breaking down. 2 moves in a row had actually been defeated by Li Fan using the moves of his junior sister that he looked down upon, the charming and gentle swordplay. Qin Junhua had always thought that it was a joke. However, he did not expect that Li Fan would use this sword technique to defeat him twice in a row. For a swordsman, his treasured sword was sent flying by someone else. This was truly despairing. Lil Hua, you don't need to be depressed. I only caught you off guard twice. Once you get used to it, I won't be your match anymore. I hope so. It's just that Brother Li's talent makes me a little depressed. Don't mind me. In terms of talent and swordsmanship, you are much better than me. Li Fan told the truth. The reason I could think of this move was actually because of the help of my 7 gallant fists. A fist technique can strengthen a sword technique? Qin Junhua was in disbelief. However, Li Fan said, of course it can. The path of martial arts actually leads to the same goal. He spoke frankly with assurance. As long as you understand the true meaning within, you will naturally be able to connect to all. Although Li Fan's words were impressive, he actually had to rely on the lawful embodiment of heaven and earth to be able to display such superb imitation ability. However, his words affected Qin Junhua. This brother lowered his head and repeated Li Fan's words. Connect to all with one. Connect to all with one. All right. Go back and slowly comprehend it. Do you still want to compete? Li Fan held the charming and gentle sword and asked Qin Junhua. Yes. Qin Junhua nodded his head firmly, following which, he raised his sword again and pointed it at Li Fan. All right, let's do it. Li Fan also held the charming and gentle sword in his hand and felt the sword tremble slightly. The charming and gentle sword seemed to be excited. Why? Are you excited too? Li Fan looked at the charming and gentle sword in his hand. Excited for the long-awaited battle? Qin Junhua stepped forward and drew his sword. Li Fan immediately swung out the charming and gentle sword and wrapped it around Qin Junhua's sword. However, Qin Junhua lowered his sword's edge and an intense sword chi erupted from his sword. It was just like the sword chi from the Morong clan, and it shook off Li Fan's treasured sword. Li Fan was a little surprised. However, he turned his body and stabbed the charming and gentle sword towards Qin Junhua's vitals. However, Qin Junhua's long sword wrapped and flicked, and he actually flicked Li Fan's charming and gentle sword away. What the fuck? Li Fan wanted to curse. This Qin Junhua's learning speed was a little too fast. He only said one sentence, connect to all with one, and this guy had easily learned his moves. He even learned some of the Morong clan sword arts. This was really a pain in the ass. Yeah. Third senior martial brother also learned this move. Xiaoho clapped her hands excitedly and said enviously, senior martial brother learned so fast. It would be great if I could also learn this move. Boo-hoo, I can't accept this. I'm clearly the senior martial sister, but I actually can't grasp it as fast as junior martial brother. Xiaoho's unconvinced expression made Li Fan and Qin Junhua laugh at the same time. This junior sister of his was really frank and straightforward. It was because of her personality that the senior martial brothers of Mount Hua doted on her. It's getting late. Senior martial brother, We still have to attend the night class. Seeing that the two of them were eager to fight a few more rounds, Xiaohou glanced at the setting sun that disappeared into the mountain stream and reminded her third senior martial brother. Oh, I almost forgot. Chun Junhua was indeed a martial arts fanatic. After hearing his junior martial sister's reminder, he suddenly came to a realization. We still have to attend the night class. Yeah, we still have to discuss tomorrow's sword conference. Oh? Chun Junhua seemed to have thought of something. It seems like it's almost time. Senior martial brother, you've forgotten about this matter. Chun Junhua shifted his gaze to the side. Xiaohou said angrily, you really did forget. Third senior martial brother is so annoying. Other than sword practice, I can't remember anything else. Then, brotherly, let Xiaohou send you to my place to rest first. Chun Junhua said to Li Fan, rest for the night first. Tomorrow, let's go watch the sword conference together. Oh, okay. Chun Junhua rushed to the night class. Xiaoyi sent Li Fan to his room. On the way, Li Fan could not help but ask, Xiaohou, what is the sword conference? Our Mount Hua sect is actually divided into many small sections. Xiaohou explained to Li Fan, some of them are also on Mount Hua. Some are at Mount Tai, Mount Hong, or other places to cultivate. But the biggest are the four great sects, Heavenly Sword Sect, Earth Sword Sect, Xinjian Sect, and Yellow Sword Sect. Our Heavenly Sword Sect has been winning the sword conference for 30 years. So, for the past 30 years, Heavenly Sword Sect has been in charge of Mount Hua. Then, the remaining sword sects will definitely have to work hard in this sword conference. Humph, they're all trash. How can they be compared with our Heavenly Sword Sect? Xiaohou said proudly, our Heavenly Sword Sect has Sect Master Tang Yao, the Lord of Western Mountain. Below him is my third senior martial brother, Chun Junhua, Edgeless Sword. When have we ever been afraid of anyone? Chapter 415. Xiaohou was quite confident in her own sword sect, and Li Fan had never seen the other three major sword sects, so he was not too sure about the situation. However, he could foresee that the sword conference tomorrow would be very lively. Xiaohou sent Li Fan to Chun Junhua's room. Chun Junhua was a popular person in Huashan, but the room he lived in was quite simple. It was just a small thatched hut with a simple bed and a small wooden table next to it. The floor was still plastered with cement, but it was clean. Li Fan sat down at the table, but Xiaohou did not leave. Instead, she sat on the bed. It's late. Why aren't you leaving? Li Fan could not help but ask. Was this junior sister going to sleep with him? Ahem, he was thinking too much. Just now, third senior brother told me to teach junior brother the purple chi of Mount Hua. Xiaohou said, after all, there are only a few incantations. I'll pass it to you verbally, so you have to remember it. Verbally. Li Fan looked at Xiaohou's rosy lips and could not help but feel a little evil. Listen well, you must ask me if you can't remember anything. Xiaohou reminded him. All right, I'll have to trouble you, senior sister. He did not know how magical the purple chi of the East was, but since Chun Junhua said it could effectively deal with inner demons, it should have some effect. As Li Fan listened to Xiaoyu reciting the chant, he listened for a while longer. He adjusted his breathing according to the tips of the breathing technique. Indeed, he felt that his hearing and vision were much better, and even his heartbeat seemed to be calmer. This breathing technique was indeed useful, allowing Li Fan to adjust his state more smoothly. Li Fan felt that using this breathing technique at a critical moment was like giving himself a shot of tranquilizer. How is it? Is it effective? When Li Fan opened his eyes, he found Xiaohou standing in front of him. She bent down and pressed her hands on her knees, looking at his face from below with a face full of concern. Well, it's quite useful. The martial arts of Mount Hua are indeed extensive and profound. Li Fan could not help but laugh. Just based on this breathing technique, his trip to Mount Hua was not in vain. That's good. Xiaohou heaved a sigh of relief. I was really worried that you would suddenly have a chi deviation or something. Haha, am I that scary? Li Fan could not help but laugh. He subconsciously stretched out his hand and touched Xiaohong's head. Little senior sister is so cute. I can't bear to hurt you. Screw you. I'm not a child. How can you touch my head? Xia Yi pushed Li Fan's hand away angrily. I'm not tall to begin with. I won't grow taller if I touch your head. Senior sister, when a girl reaches the age of 18, she basically won't grow anymore. Li Fan really couldn't bear to tell Xiaohou this cruel truth, but he couldn't let her hope for nothing. After all, he was a kind person. So, it's better for you to give up on those random thoughts. Don't lie to me. Sect leader said. 23. Jump up. That's a boy. Li Fan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. I'm not talking about girls, my little senior sister. I don't believe you. I can definitely grow to 8 heads. Li Fan was speechless towards Xiaohou's expectations. This woman's thoughts were too good. 8 heads. You're doubting senior sister. Xiaohou pouted, expressing her anger towards Li Fan's doubt. Senior sister is very angry. The consequences are very serious. Yes, yes, yes. Senior sister can definitely grow to 8 heads. No. How can 8 heads satisfy senior sister? Senior sister can grow to 10 heads, or even 100 heads. Screw you. Wouldn't that make me a monster? Xiaohou rolled her eyes at Li Fan. But I feel that senior sister looks very good like this. Li Fan suddenly said, I wonder why senior sister wants to grow to 8 heads? What do you know? I also want long legs. As the saying goes, a woman will dress up for the one who pleases her. Li Fan asked, which senior brother is senior sister growing taller for? Screw you. Matters of love between a man and a woman cannot pique senior sister's interest. Xiaohou said confidently, moreover, I only have brotherly feelings towards those senior brothers. They are all too boring, especially eldest senior brother and third senior brother. One is a dull person, the other is a sword maniac. Who would be interested in such a man? Then what kind of Prince Charming in senior sister's heart is? Li Fan's interest was piqued. Tell me about it. I know a few reliable lads who might meet senior sister's requirements. There are men everywhere on Mount Hua. I don't need you to introduce me. Xia Yi stood on her tiptoes and patted Li Fan's shoulder. Little junior brother, senior sister appreciates your kindness. But I also advise you not to always think about these matters between men and women. It's because you always think about these things, that's why it's easy for you to go berserk. I can see that your talent is quite good. If you practice your sword well, maybe one day you can surpass me. This girl still did not understand her own strength, and when she was sparring with Chen Junhua, she only used sword techniques. The two of them did not use true qi. All right, it's already late. I won't disturb junior brother's rest. Hee. Although I don't know when you're leaving, but don't forget, on Mount Hua, you still have me, your senior sister. Xiaohou said to Li Fan with a smile, if there's anything you don't know, feel free to ask me. As long as it doesn't violate the principles of Mount Hua, I will definitely answer without holding back. Then I'll thank senior sister first. Just as Li Fan was about to say goodbye to Xiaohou, suddenly, 2 crisp sounds came from the roof. Although the sound was not loud, it attracted Li Fan and Xiaohou's attention. Ah, what's that sound? Xia Yi raised her head and looked at the ceiling. Is it raining outside? Senior sister, don't make a sound. It's someone's qinggong. It's the middle of the night. Who's running around on the roof? It's definitely not a good person, senior sister. Do you want to go take a look with me? Li Fan thought, could it be that Yin Wuchao is here to cause trouble for him? If he brought Xiaohou over, she could be a notary, lest he and Yin Wuchao made a big fuss and it would be hard to explain to Mount Hua. All right. I also want to see who has the guts to be so presumptuous in my Mount Hua. When Xiaohou heard this, she also became angry. She placed her hand on the hilt of her sword, as if she was about to flare up, but was suppressed by Li Fan. Then follow me, senior sister. As Li Fan spoke, he used his qing gong and floated out of the door like a wisp of smoke, lightly landing on the roof. Aya, junior brother, wait for me. Xiaohou hurriedly chased after him. Her qing gong was much weaker, and it took her a lot of effort to barely catch up to Li Fan. Chapter 416. The Mount Hua sect was huge. Under the cover of the night, it was full of mystery. Meanwhile, on the peak of Mount Hua, a man in black was walking on Mount Hua under the cover of the night. His footsteps were light. Except for the sound he made when he accidentally made on Li Fan's house, he did not make any other sound. He just walked on the roofs as if he was looking for something on Mount Hua. Xiaohou followed him for a while, but she could not keep up with him. Both the man in black and Li Fan's lightness skill were better than hers. Xiaohou tried her best, but the distance between the two of them was getting farther and farther. She was a little anxious. She wanted to call Li Fan, but she was afraid that the man in black would hear her. Li Fan seemed to notice her embarrassment, so he took the initiative to slow down and hold Xia Yi's hand. Before Xiaohou could react, Li Fan had already pulled her, making her feel like she was riding on clouds. Although she had learned lightness skill and liked it, she had never realized that it could be so mysterious. It was as if she had released herself and felt so free. With Li Fan holding her hand, her body also became light. Together with Li Fan, they were like swallows in the night, gliding lightly on Mount Hua. Xiaohou could not help but widen her eyes in surprise. She covered her mouth with her other hand to prevent herself from screaming. The junior brother brought by third senior brother had a good lightness skill. The two of them followed the man in black quietly and went deep into Mount Hua. After walking for more than 10 minutes, the man in black finally slowed down. He seemed to be very confident in himself. After glancing left and right, he landed in front of a house. Xiaohou and Li Fan saw this scene from a mountain far away. Xiaohou could not help but let out a low cry. Li Fan covered her mouth gently with his hand, signaling her to lower her voice. Although they were far away, Li Fan was still worried that the man had extraordinary hearing. It would be terrible if he heard what they were doing. What happened? Li Fan transmitted his voice to Xia Yi, but Xia Yi did not know that Li Fan could use such a profound technique. She thought he was talking normally. This is Elder Rant's room. Xiaohou lowered his voice and whispered in Li Fan's ear. It's our sword guardian elder. Sure, let's watch first. Li Fan pressed one hand on Xiaohou's head. Although he didn't use much strength, it made Xiaohou pout. Little junior brother is so annoying. He still treats me like a child. Li Fan stared at the man in black. He stood at the door of the room and gently knocked on the door 3 times. Then, he knocked once and twice. The door suddenly opened and only closed after the black-clothed man entered. Xiaohou widened her eyes and pointed at the room. She seemed to want to say something, but Li Fan covered her mouth. Sure, he whispered in Xavier's ear. I want to hear what they said. How could it be? So far away. Xiaohou was in disbelief, but Li Fan had already closed his eyes and used the east-rising purple qi breathing technique. This set of breathing techniques could indeed calm him down. Although they were at least 500 meters apart, Li Fan could still hear the conversation in the room, even though their voices were very low. Is there anyone around? Don't worry, it's just me. Lord Protector, everything is ready. Very good. Another voice in the room seemed to be suppressing his excitement. I've waited for this day, for too long. The sect leader asked me to inform you that tomorrow, when the bell rings, the earth will cover the sky. Tell the sect leader not to worry. I'm ready. Then I'll take my leave, Protector. The voice faded, and the black-clothed man did not appear again. He seemed to have left somewhere else. Li Fan did not hesitate. He pulled Xiaohou and turned to leave the area to a safer place. What did they say? You can't hear it, right? I heard some. Li Fan looked at Xiaohou. What's your sword protector's character like? He's righteous. Xiaohou said without hesitation. He's very strict. He's very strict with himself and the disciples in the sect. Looks like you, the strict guardian sword elder, are going to do something surprising. Xiaohou did not believe Li Fan's words. You're just guessing. The sword protector elder is very upright. There's a good saying, you may know a person's face but not his heart. Li Fan smiled. You'll see the true face of this sword protector elder sooner or later. However, this is not important. What's important is that you better not participate in the sword conference tomorrow. How can I do that? The sword conference every 10 years is very interesting. I must go. I wasn't a disciple of Mount Hua last time. This time, I must participate. I've long wanted to see it. Xiaohou seemed to want to join in the fun, but Li Fan touched his chin and did not comment. Moreover, it's the sword conference. Sect leader Tang will definitely control the situation. He's the master of West Mountain. Let's hope you're right. Li Fan shrugged. Anyway, this is Mount Hua's matter. I can't interfere. I'm just here to watch the fun. You guys can settle the rest. Don't worry. It'll be fine. I don't know where that man in black came from. He must have been subdued by the Sword Protector Elder. Xiaohou was very confident in her Sword Protector Elder. He and the Sword-Bearing Elder are Sect Leader Tang's right-hand men. Heavenly Sword Sect can only prosper until now because of them. Since that's the case, we'll see you tomorrow, little senior sister. Li Fan bid farewell to Xiaohou. It was too late. He did not want to wander around Mount Hua for too long. He did not want to be chased away as a bad guy. Just as he said, he did not belong to Mount Hua. He was just a passerby. Mount Hua's matters should be settled by Mount Hua itself. Moreover, Xiaohou trusted Tang Yao, the master of West Mountain, so much that Li Fan often saw this name in the Jianghu app. The master of Mount Hua. Because of him, Heavenly Sword Sect had a stable position on Mount Hua. When Li Fan returned to his room, Chen Junhua was already sitting inside. How's the night view of Mount Hua? Chen Junhua didn't suspect anything else. He just symbolically asked Li Fan. It's not bad. The view is beautiful, but it's a bit cold. What about the purple chi from the east? Did it affect you? It's a good help. Your suggestion is indeed useful. Li Fan was very grateful to Chen Junhua. The purple chi from the east provided by Chen Junhua had helped him a lot. Mount Hua is indeed a famous sect with hundreds of years of history. Even a simple breathing technique is so powerful. Li Fan said honestly, if I can stay here longer, I think I'll gain more. Why? Can't you stay longer? Chen Junhua might be simple, but he was not stupid. He instantly understood the meaning behind Li Fan's words. Chapter 417. It's nothing. In short, you have to pay more attention to tomorrow's sword conference. If he were to tell Chen Junhua that his sword protection elder was a spy, he would not believe it. After all, the sword protection elder had lived with him for so many years, and he had only known him for a few days. Brotherly, the two of us can be considered friends, right? Chen Junhua asked. Of course, I like to make friends. Li Fan nodded. Especially a simple friend like Xiao Hua. I need more friends like you. As Li Fan spoke, he winked at Chen Junhua. But believe me, you are unique. That's good. Chen Junhua told Li Fan. Since we are friends, we should be honest with each other. If you have anything to say, just say it. Huh? Do you really want to say it? I won't force it. Chen Junhua's expression had always been so straightforward. But I will be honest with you. Li Fan was speechless for a long time. Damn, all right, I will say it. Li Fan told Chen Junhua what he had heard and guessed, word for word. Do you feel that what I said is like a fantasy? Li Fan looked at Chen Junhua's expression, as if he was observing his thoughts. No, I believe you. However, Chen Junhua said firmly. Oh? Why? Because you don't have to lie to me. Chen Junhua pondered for a moment, but I'm afraid I can't tell the sect leader about this. He won't believe it. Sometimes, Chen Junhua's cleverness surprised Li Fan. This guy, although he was silent, he was not stupid. Tomorrow, I will pay attention to the sword protection elder. As Chen Junhua said, he began to undress. Fuck, what are you doing? Sleeping, my bed is small, let's sleep together tonight. Chen Junhua pointed to his simple bed. Then why are you taking off your clothes? Don't you need to take off your clothes to sleep? Li Fan was speechless for a long time. In the end, he said, I think I can introduce a friend to you. Who? His name is Yin Kai. You will like him. Oh, sure. I've heard of his name. I've always been fascinated by him. Chen Junhua obviously did not understand what Li Fan meant. If there's a chance, I hope to get to know him and see his Tai Chi Kung Fu. Forget it. I can't talk to you. Let's go to sleep. Li Fan pointed at the roof. I'll sleep on the roof. How can we do that? This is not how Mount Hua treats its guests. Chun Junhua obviously didn't agree to Li Fan's suggestion. It's okay. It's hard to see such a beautiful starry sky outside. Li Fan didn't care. Moreover, sleeping in the cold will train my Jinqi's self-protection ability. This is a good training method. Then let me sleep with you. Chun Junhua's words were too ambiguous. Lil Hua, what you should learn is swordsmanship, not Jinqi strengthening. Li Fan hurriedly persuaded him. My training method isn't suitable for you. You're right. Chun Junhua was successfully fooled by Li Fan. He laid on the bed. Then let's meet tomorrow morning. There's a sword conference tomorrow. Brotherly, rest early. No problem. See you tomorrow. Li Fan finally heaved a sigh of relief. He flipped over and landed on the roof, lying on the snow. He looked up at the starry sky. At the same time, he switched his meridians and entered a different mental cultivation method. As he operated the mental cultivation method, he kept staring at the vast Milky Way. The universe was really too vast. It was boundless and beyond the imagination of humans. Li Fan couldn't help but think. In this universe, he couldn't even be considered a small boat. He was too small. And what could he, who was so small, do? But without a doubt, he was also a part of the universe. It was the countless versions of himself that formed the universe. Then, he should become the most outstanding one among the countless versions of himself. Li Fan felt that the mental cultivation method in his body was starting to boil. When he was looking at the universe, Li Fan's mental cultivation method also improved rapidly. He was very surprised. He usually worked so hard to cultivate this mental cultivation method, but he couldn't improve it in the slightest. But now, when he was looking at the universe, his mental cultivation method improved. Could it be absorbing the essence of the sun and moon? Damn, this was bullshit. Li Fan carefully thought about it. It was probably because when he was looking at the universe, his inner state might be different. When it came to practicing martial arts, physical training was only one kind. But mental training was also an important step. Li Fan seemed to enjoy this feeling. He just laid there with his arms open, staring at the vast universe. At this moment, Li Fan no longer breathed through his nose. He simultaneously opened all the pores in his body and breathed along with him. This way, his mental cultivation method circulated even faster. As for Li Fan, it was as if he could feel the universe revolving within his body. This internal energy was too magical. Li Fan temporarily named this martial art Stellar Divine Technique. This way, it would be in line with the meaning and feeling of this mental cultivation method. He seemed to be able to feel the snow around him melting. This magical feeling indeed made him feel very comfortable. Li Fan felt that his Stellar Divine Technique had even greater potential. His true qi spread out from his pores and spread to the surroundings. This kind of true qi control technique was far broader than the sky-swallowing toad. This feeling of being able to control everything made Li Fan feel an addictive pleasure. When Li Fan reacted, his true qi had already begun to circulate on its own. His pores automatically opened and closed, frantically absorbing energy from the surrounding air. At this moment, Li Fan felt that all the martial artists on Mount Hua were losing their true qi bit by bit. Then, the lost true qi merged into the air like a galaxy, revolving around him and then entering his body through his pores. This feeling, very powerful and very terrifying. Although Li Fan wanted to control it very much, he was really addicted. This kind of pleasure made him a little unable to stop. As long as he breathed, a large amount of true qi would enter his body. He could clearly feel that his body was constantly becoming stronger. It was just a reverse martial art, but it gave him such a terrifying feeling. Stellar Divine Technique. This martial art was really too terrifying. And when Li Fan was absorbing the surrounding true qi, his inner demon seemed to be roaring. Li Fan immediately forced himself to stop. He had to control it within a certain range. Otherwise, the inner demon would breed again, and he would very likely go berserk. destroying everything. Li Fan slapped himself hard and calmed down. Chapter 418. In the following period of time, Li Fan didn't cultivate anymore. Instead, he consolidated the strength in his body. It wasn't a good thing to improve his strength too quickly. Although Li Fan hadn't cultivated for a long time, he deeply understood this principle. It was easy to become a demon in one day, but difficult to cultivate for 1,000 years. The faster one cultivated and grew, the more unstable one's state of mind would be. It was like a person who slowly earned money and became rich bit by bit. He knew how to take care of his own wealth. But if it was a nouveau riche, he wouldn't know how to deal with his wealth. Squandering it was a common thing. And it was the same for people who suddenly inherited great power. For example, some second-generation rich people would also squander the wealth that the previous generation had worked hard to earn. Li Fan had this kind of awareness. If he wanted to cultivate a divine technique, it was naturally possible. Increasing his speed appropriately was also a good choice. But if it was too fast, it wouldn't be good. Not choosing to continue absorbing true qi, Li Fan began to consolidate his strength. This was the most correct choice. During this process, Li Fan was still using the breathing technique of Mount Hua to adjust his state of mind. Li Fan gradually calmed down. After a certain period, he also entered a deep sleep. The night quietly passed and the sun rose again. The Mount Hua today was different from the past. It was unknown how many experts had come here and gathered on Mount Hua. These experts all had different appearances, but every one of them had one thing in common, which was that they all carried a treasured sword. The people of the heaven, earth, black, and yellow sword sects had all arrived at the peak of Mount Hua, waiting for the Sword Discourse Conference. On the peak of Mount Hua, it was unknown how many years it took to build a huge observatory. This observatory was a beautiful 8-trigram stone platform. Half of it was next to the cliff, while the other half was outside the cliff. On the two sides of this observatory, there were 2 huge sculptures of human figures. These 2 figures were said to be the 2 founders of Mount Hua, and each of them had 2 disciples. The 4 of them founded the 4 major sword sections. Since then, there had been endless disputes. In the end, the rule of the Sword Discourse Conference was set. Once every 10 years, the next master of Mount Hua would be chosen in the Sword Discourse Conference. This is the Sword Conference. Xia Yi followed beside Li Fan, looking at the swordsman from outside with some excitement. There are so many people today, almost catching up to the usual tourists. Don't make a fuss. There are thousands of tourists. If it's a holiday, it'll be even scarier. Li Fan patted Xiao's head and said, "There are about 200 to 300 swordsmen. Although there are quite a few of them, it's not shocking enough. As if you've seen something grand, humph? Believe me, I've been through the Spring Festival." Xia obviously didn't understand what Li Fan meant, but it couldn't suppress her curiosity. "Look, the cultivators from the other sword sects have arrived." Xiaming pointed. Li Fan also carefully sized up the swordsmen. Most of their clothes only had 4 colors. The one from Heavenly Sword faction was mainly white, while the one from Earth Sword faction was black. The Xinjian sect had a green hue, so the Huangjian sect naturally had a yellow hue. The people from the 4 sword sects only had one goal, and that was to become the champion of this sword conference. The sword conference is divided into 2 parts. One part is for the younger generation to compete, and the other part is for the sect leaders to compete. Xiaohe was still introducing to Li Fan, but the sword conference is cruel. The arena master must be able to defend the stage. That is indeed very cruel. It's a battle of attrition. Li Fan saw that Qin Junhua was already warming up, ready to go on stage at any time. The master of the West Mountain, Tang Yao, also stood at the highest position with an extraordinary aura. On his left and right stood 2 people who were about the same age as him. The one on the left had his arms crossed. His face was cold like an ice mountain. The other was wearing an iron mask, so his face couldn't be seen. However, other than his own sword, he was also carrying Tang Yao's sword. The one with the cold face was the sword-protecting elder, and the one with the iron mask was the sword-holding elder. The two of them had similar strength and were Tang Yao's left and right arms. In front of him were a few experts wearing other colored clothes. They were the sect leaders of the other sword sections. Sect leader Tang, we haven't seen each other for a long time. The sect leader in black did not seem to have a good attitude. This year's master of Mount Hua should be replaced. Sect leader Wang, long time no see. Your temper is still as straightforward as ever. Tang Yao laughed and said, as for who can become the master of Mount Hua, it will depend on their own sword techniques. Sect leader Wang, in these 10 years, I wonder if your sword techniques have improved. Don't worry, I guarantee that you will be satisfied. Sect leader Wang, it's time for you to change your temper. The sect leader of the Yellow Sword Sect, Ning Pang, said, under the leadership of sect leader Tang, Mount Hua is getting better and better. Sect leader Chen, don't you think so? The sect leader of the Xinjian sect was called Chen Xian, and he looked like an honest person. He nodded, yes, it's good that it's stable. It's good that it's stable. Don't the two of you want to sit at the peak of Mount Hua? The sect leader of the Earth Sword sect was called Wang Runliang. He angrily pointed at a throne on the mountain peak. Don't the two of you want it? Aya, my strength is not enough. As long as I can manage those little brats of the Yellow Sword sect, it's enough. Ning Peng laughed. What about reaching the peak? I've never thought about it. Sect leader Chen, have you thought about it? Chen Xian immediately shook his head. It's too far away. It's good that it's stable. It's good that it's stable. Two disappointing fellows. Wang Runliang choked with anger. Obviously, these two's attitude disappointed him. Wang Runliang, don't even think about it. The sword-guarding elder scolded. Xinjian sect and Yellow Sword sect have always supported our sect leader Tang. If you want to reach the peak of Mount Hua, then you have to beat our sect leader Tang in sword techniques. Humph, my sword technique today will definitely surprise you. Wang Runliang touched his own sword. No rush, no rush. Tang Yao had a good temper. He was not angry and said slowly, let the younger generation first exchange pointers. Between you and me, we'll decide who's better later. Good. This year, our Earth Sword sect has a few talents. They're not any worse than your Chen Junhua. Wang Runliang said confidently, when the younger generation loses to our Earth Sword sect, don't you cry. Why would I? Everyone is exchanging pointers to make our Mount Hua sect stronger. With outstanding young disciples, I can't wait to be happy. Why would I cry? Heh, save the good words for later. Wang Runliang seemed a bit impatient. The sun is already up. Let's start. I can't wait to enter the peak of Mount Hua. Chapter 419. The sun rose high above the mountain stream, and the bright sunlight shone on the observatory. Half of the observatory was shining with light, as if yin and yang were the two extremes. Hundreds of Huashan disciples surrounded the cliff, waiting for the start of the Sword Discourse Conference. It's starting, it's starting. Xiayi tiptoed and tried her best to look inside. However, there were too many people in front, and she was short, so it was difficult for her to see. Damn it. Why are there so many tall people in front? I can't even see them. Senior sister, do you want to ride on my neck? Li Fan asked. Screw you. I'm not a kid. Xiayi rolled her eyes at Li Fan. I don't want to ride on your neck. I'll be laughed at. Then I'll carry senior sister and watch. Li Fan didn't allow her to say anything. He directly carried Xiayi from behind and raised her a little higher. Because he was a martial artist, Li Fan's body was very sturdy, and Xiayi was not heavy, so Li Fan did not feel tired lifting her up. Ugh, Xiayi blushed a little as she was lifted up by Li Fan. But this way, she could clearly see the fight in the center of the arena. Because Heavenly Sword Sect was the master of Huashan, Heavenly Sword Sect disciples were responsible for guarding the arena. At this moment, a young disciple from Huashan Heavenly Sword Sect was fighting with a Yellow Sword Sect disciple. As for Chen Junhua, as the last expert of Heavenly Sword Sect, it was impossible for him to make a move so early. This year, the disciples of other sword sects are also very powerful. Xiaoyi was very excited, as if she could not wait to go down and fight with them. Her body carried a faint lily fragrance, and because her nose was very close to Li Fan's, the fragrance also tickled Li Fan's nose. "Little senior sister, do you want to go down and fight?" Li Fan suddenly asked. How can I do it?" Xiaoyi hurriedly shook her head. "I haven't practiced my swordsmanship well. If I go up on stage like this, I will definitely be laughed at and embarrass our heavenly sword sect." "Little senior sister, don't be afraid. I'll help you." Li Fan's voice rang in Xiaoyi's ears, making her ears feel a little itchy. "How can you help me? Little senior sister will naturally know when she goes up to compete." "Humph, I don't want to go. You must be trying to trick me." "How could that be? When have I ever deceived little senior sister?" For some reason, Li Fan's voice gave Xiaoyi a very calm feeling. Furthermore, one should practice martial arts more in actual combat. This sword discussion assembly is a rare opportunity for senior sister. Li Fan was like a demon, constantly tempting this little senior sister. "Whether I win or lose, it will be of great help to senior sister's future cultivation." "You're right." Xiaoho was tempted by Li Fan's words. At that moment, the disciple from the Heavenly Sword faction had been defeated. The young swordsman from the Yellow Sword faction raised his sword arrogantly and asked, "Who else? Is there anyone else from the Heavenly Sword faction who dares to fight?" Li Fan did not give Xiaoho a chance to think, and directly pushed her from behind. Xiaoho's body immediately flew out, and under the surprised gazes of the Huashan Heavenly Sword faction disciples, she landed on the arena. Why did little junior sister go up? Little junior sister is so bold. Because Xiaoho's strength was not strong, when she went up on the arena, it attracted the discussion of her fellow disciples. "It's fine." Big senior brother Yang Yuanxing smiled. "Little junior sister's experience is shallow. It's good to let her broaden her horizons." Since big senior brother said it was fine, the other disciples did not say anything. But there were still some people who were worried that little junior sister would get injured. "We are all Huashan disciples, so we will naturally not overdo it. Everyone, don't worry." Yang Yuanxing kept his hands in his sleeves and looked at Xiaoho on the arena. Opposite Xiaoho was the disciple from the Yellow Sword faction. He held his sword, looked at Xiaoho, and laughed. "Hee, Huashan only has such a delicate and pretty girl. But looking at you, do you think you can take 2 of my sword strikes?" The other party's mockery obviously angered Xiaoho. She hugged her sword and cupped her hands at the other party. Huashan Heavenly Sword faction, Xiaoho. Huashan Yellow Sword faction, Yao Gang. Just as Yao Gang from the Yellow Sword faction finished speaking, his body suddenly appeared in front of Xiaoho, and the sword in his hand directly stabbed at Xiaoho 3 times in a row. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The 3 strikes were as fast as shadows. It was the Huashan sword technique's 3 Friends of Winter. Although the sword techniques of the 4 major sword factions were different, there was still a subtle difference. The Heavenly Sword faction focused on sword intent, while the Earth Sword faction focused on sword techniques. On the other hand, the Xinjian faction and the Yellow Sword faction both preferred fast swords. The 3 Friends of Winter was performed by Yao Gang, and it was as fast as lightning. Xiaoho was stunned for a moment. Although she usually sparred with her senior brothers, most of the time, it was because her senior brothers deliberately let her fight. Moreover, the 3 Friends of Winter was slightly different from the one she practiced. It was so fast that she could not see it clearly. She was a little flustered, and also a little regretful. Why did she listen to her junior brother's bewitchment and come to the arena? If she was defeated in one move, wouldn't it be embarrassing for Huashan? But at this critical moment, Xiaoho's body suddenly trembled. She felt as if her body was wrapped up by something, and then she could not help but move on her own. She raised the charming, gentle sword in her right hand, and at that moment, Xiaoho felt as if she had seen her opponent's flaw. Her hand continued to move on its own, holding the charming, gentle sword. She instantly wrapped it around Yao Gang's sword, and then flicked it. Clang! Yao Gang's sword was flicked away, and Xiaoho's long sword was pressed against Yao Gang's neck. Yao Gang's face was flushed red. Xiaoho was also very surprised. At this moment, Li Fan's voice rang in Xiaoho's ears. Don't worry, leave it to me. Xiaoho was shocked. What method did this junior brother use? Although Li Fan was standing in the distance, he had already switched to the Star Luo Divine technique state. He made his true qi look like a coat and draped it over Xiaoho's body. This way, he only needed to control his true qi to control Xiaoho's movements. Senior sister, just relax. Let me do the rest. Li Fan continued to transmit his voice. Senior sister, you only need to seriously experience this match. Xiaoho did not dare to make a sound, afraid that others would see through her. But how did junior brother do it? To actually be able to control his own body? Could it be that when he was hugging me, did he use some kind of method? But before Xiaoho could figure it out, the next Xinjian sect opponent had already jumped up. Let me experience junior sister Xia's great move. His feet stepped on the qinggong, his body quickly moved in the air, and the long sword in his hand continuously danced. Huashan sword technique, Cloud Dragon 5 appearances. This move was powerful because of the strangeness of the sword technique, making people unable to grasp it. This was a high-level sword technique in Huashan sword technique. He did not expect the opponent to use such a sword technique. In this way, even young Yuanxing was a little worried. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.